Have you noticed that the more you try to control life, the more exhausted you become? The more you overthink, force outcomes, chase certainty, and mentally fight every uncomfortable moment, the heavier your mind feels. Buddhism teaches that most people are not suffering because life is always hard. They are suffering because they are resisting life every single day. They resist change. They resist uncertainty. They resist pain. And in doing so, they turn temporary problems into permanent emotional suffering. But what if peace does not come from controlling everything? What if happiness begins the moment you stop mentally fighting reality? Imagine how different your life would feel if your mind stopped carrying every problem like it was the end of the world. Imagine waking up without constant anxiety about the future. Imagine finally learning how to let go instead of emotionally drowning in every situation life brings you. In this video, you will learn powerful Buddhist lessons that will help you stop resisting life, release unnecessary suffering, and finally experience the deep inner peace that comes when you stop forcing everything and allow life to flow naturally. 1. Life becomes heavy when you fight reality. One of the biggest reasons people suffer is because they refuse to accept reality as it is. They keep replaying painful moments and wishing things happened differently. They fight the past in their mind every day. But Buddhism teaches that reality does not become easier because you hate it. The more you resist what already exists, the more emotional pain you create for yourself. When something painful happens, the mind immediately says, "This should not be happening." But life does not always follow your expectations. Change, loss, disappointment, and uncertainty are part of being human. The problem is not only the situation itself. The problem is your resistance to it. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means you stop wasting your energy fighting reality. A calm mind says, "This happened. Now let me move forward peacefully." The moment you stop arguing with life, your mind becomes lighter. You stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight every day. Buddhism teaches that peace begins when you stop demanding life to be perfect before allowing yourself to feel calm. 2. The need to control everything creates anxiety. Most anxiety begins when you try to control things that were never fully in your hands. You want to know exactly what will happen tomorrow. You want people to act the way you expect. You want every plan to work perfectly, every relationship to feel secure, and every situation to move according to your timing. But life does not work like that. Life is always changing, and the more you demand certainty from something uncertain, the more fear you create inside yourself. Buddhism teaches that attachment to control creates suffering because your peace becomes dependent on things outside of you. If people behave the way you want, you feel calm. If life goes according to your plan, you feel safe. But the moment something changes, your mind becomes restless. This is why control never gives real peace. It only gives temporary comfort until life becomes unpredictable again. Many people overthink because they believe worrying is a form of protection. They think if they imagine every possible problem, they can stop pain from happening. But worrying does not prevent the future. It only makes you suffer before anything has even happened. You cannot control every outcome by thinking harder. You only make your mind tired. You do not need to carry every problem today. You do not need to fix your entire life in one night. Some answers come slowly. Some situations become clear with time. Some problems solve themselves when you stop forcing them with fear. Your job is to do what you can with a calm mind. Then release what is not in your control. Buddhism teaches that true wisdom is not controlling every part of life. True wisdom is learning to stay peaceful even when life is uncertain. The moment you stop gripping everything so tightly, your mind finally has space to breathe. 3. Letting go is not weakness. Many people think letting go means weakness. They believe if they walk away, forgive, stop chasing, or stop holding on, then they have lost. But Buddhism teaches something very different. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is choosing peace over pain. It is the moment you stop giving your energy to something that keeps hurting your mind. Sometimes people hold on to anger because they think anger protects them. They hold on to the past because they think remembering the pain will keep them safe. They hold on to toxic people because they fear being alone. But slowly, this attachment becomes a prison. The thing you refuse to release begins to control your emotions, your thoughts, and your peace. Letting go does not mean the situation did not matter. It does not mean the pain was not real. It does not mean you are pretending nothing happened. It simply means you are no longer willing to carry that pain every day like a heavy stone inside your heart. You are no longer allowing one person, one mistake, or one painful chapter to control the rest of your life. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Nothing stays the same forever. People change. Feelings change. Situations change. Life moves forward whether you are ready or not. When you resist change, you suffer. When you accept change, you begin to heal. Letting go means understanding that not everything is meant to stay in your life forever. Some things come to teach you. Some things come to wake you up. Some things come to show you what you must stop accepting. A weak person keeps holding on because they are afraid of emptiness. But a wise person lets go because they understand that peace is more important than attachment. You do not need to chase what is leaving. You do not need to force someone to understand your worth. You do not need to keep reopening old wounds just to prove that you cared. The truth is, holding on can sometimes hurt more than losing. When you keep holding on to something that already wants to leave, you keep yourself stuck between the past and the future. You cannot fully heal because one part of you is still waiting for life to go back to how it used to be. But peace begins when you accept that some doors close because your soul needs a new direction. Letting go is strength because it takes courage to stop fighting what you cannot change. It takes courage to release what you love when it destroys your peace. It takes courage to say, I accept what happened, but I will not let it ruin me. That is not weakness. That is emotional freedom. So do not think you are weak because you are letting go. You are not giving up on life. You are giving up on suffering. You are choosing your mind, your peace, and your future. And sometimes, the moment you release what is heavy, life finally gives you space to breathe again. 4. Your mind creates extra suffering. Pain is part of life, but most of the time the mind makes pain much bigger than it really is. A problem happens once, but the mind repeats it again and again. Someone says one hurtful word, and the mind keeps replaying it for days. One thing goes wrong, and the mind starts imagining that everything will go wrong. This is how suffering grows. The situation may be small, but the story inside the mind makes it feel heavy. Buddhism teaches that suffering does not only come from what happens to you, it also comes from how your mind holds on to what happens. For example, if someone ignores your message, the mind may quickly create a painful story. It may say, they do not care about me, or I am not important, or something bad is going to happen. But maybe the person was busy, maybe they were tired, maybe there is no deep meaning behind it. Still, the mind creates fear before reality is even clear. This is why awareness is so important. You must learn to watch your thoughts instead of believing them immediately. Not every thought is truth. Not every fear is a warning. Not every negative feeling means something bad is coming. Sometimes the mind is only repeating old pain, old insecurity, and old fear. If you believe every thought, you will suffer from things that are not even real. Many people suffer more from imagination than from reality. They imagine rejection before it happens. They imagine failure before they even try. They imagine people judging them when no one has said anything. Their body sits in the present moment, but their mind lives inside fear. This makes life feel more painful than it needs to be. Buddhism teaches that thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. They appear, they change, and they disappear. You are not the cloud. You are the sky watching it pass. In the same way, you are not every thought that enters your mind. You are the awareness behind the thought. When you understand this, you stop becoming a prisoner of every emotion. A calm mind does not fight every thought. It simply observes. When a fearful thought appears, you can say, "This is only a thought. I do not have to follow it." When anger appears, you can say, "This is anger passing through me. I do not need to become it." When sadness appears, you can say, "This feeling is here, but it will not stay forever." The mind creates extra suffering when it adds meaning to everything. One bad day becomes, "My life is bad." One mistake becomes, "I am a failure." One rejection becomes, "Nobody will ever value me." But these are not truths. These are stories. And if you keep feeding these stories, they become heavier than the real problem. So the next time your mind starts creating fear, pause before you believe it. Breathe. Look at the situation clearly. Ask yourself, is this really happening? Or is my mind creating a painful story? This simple question can save you from a lot of unnecessary suffering. Peace begins when you stop believing every thought that appears in your mind. You do not need to fight your thoughts. You only need to stop giving them full control over your emotions. The more you observe your mind, the less power it has over you. And when the mind becomes quiet, life becomes much easier to carry. 5. Life flows better when you stop forcing everything. Many people become tired because they are always trying to force life to happen the way they want. They force relationships to work. They force people to understand them. They force success to come quickly. They force answers before the right time. They force themselves to stay in places, situations, and connections that no longer feel peaceful. But the more you force life, the heavier your mind becomes. Buddhism teaches that forcing creates suffering because it comes from fear. You force because you are afraid to lose something. You force because you are afraid life will not give you what you want. You force because you do not trust the natural timing of things. But life does not always move according to your plan. Sometimes things take longer. Sometimes people change. Sometimes doors close. Sometimes the answer you want is not the answer that is good for your peace. When you keep forcing something, you stop seeing clearly. You become attached to one outcome. You start believing that your happiness depends on one person, one plan, one opportunity, or one result. And when that thing does not happen, your whole inner world becomes disturbed. This is why attachment makes life painful. It convinces you that peace can only come if life follows your exact desire. But life often flows better when you stop pushing everything with fear. This does not mean you become lazy. It does not mean you stop trying. It means you do your part with patience, but you stop destroying your peace over what you cannot control. You work hard, but you do not panic. You care, but you do not cling. You move forward, but you do not force every door to open. Nature teaches this lesson beautifully. A river does not fight every stone in its path. It moves around it and continues flowing. A tree does not shout at the sky to grow faster. It grows slowly, silently, and naturally. The sun does not rush to rise before its time. Everything in nature follows rhythm, patience, and flow. But the human mind suffers because it wants everything immediately. Sometimes life is not rejecting you, it is redirecting you. Sometimes delays are not punishment, they are protection. Sometimes what you are trying so hard to force may not be meant for the person you are becoming, but when your mind is full of fear, you cannot see this. You only see what you are losing, not what life may be saving you from. Buddhism teaches that peace comes when you release attachment to results. You can plant the seed, water it, and take care of it, but you cannot force it to grow overnight. In the same way, you can give your best effort in life, but you cannot control every result immediately. Some things need time, some things need space, some things need to unfold naturally. When you stop forcing everything, your energy returns to you. Your mind becomes calm again. You stop chasing people who do not choose you. You stop begging life to happen on your schedule. You stop turning every delay into fear and every closed door into failure. You begin to trust that what is truly meant for you will not need to be forced with desperation. The happiest people are not those who control everything. They are the people who know when to act and when to release. They know when to move forward and when to be still. They understand that peace is not found by forcing life to obey them. Peace is found by walking with life instead of fighting against it. So, do your part, but stop forcing the rest. Give your best, but stop holding your breath for one result. Let life breathe. Let time work. Let some answers arrive naturally. Because sometimes, the moment you stop forcing everything is the moment life finally begins to flow in the right direction. 6. Peace comes from living the present moment. Most people do not suffer because this moment is unbearable. They suffer because their mind is not living in this moment. Their body is here, but their mind is somewhere else. Their body is sitting in the present, but their thoughts are running into the past, replaying what happened, what someone said, what they should have done, and what they wish they could change. Or their mind is running into the future, imagining what could go wrong, what they might lose, what people might think, and how life might disappoint them. This is why so many people feel tired even when nothing is happening right now. Their suffering is not only coming from life, it is coming from a mind that never rests where life actually exists. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is the only place where peace can truly be found. You cannot live yesterday again. You cannot control tomorrow before it arrives. You can only meet life here, in this moment, with awareness. But many people miss their entire life because they are mentally absent. They eat food without tasting it. They sit with loved ones without truly being there. They walk outside without seeing the sky. They rest, but their mind is still working. They breathe, but they do not feel alive because their attention is trapped somewhere else. This is why life can feel heavy, even when the present moment is not actually dangerous. The mind creates pain by pulling you away from what is real. It says, "What if this happens? What if I fail? What if they leave? What if I never become successful? What if my life does not work out?" And before anything has happened, the body begins to suffer as if the problem is already real. Your heart becomes heavy. Your chest becomes tight. Your mood changes. But when you look around, you may realize that right now, in this exact moment, you are safe. You are breathing. You are alive. The problem is not always happening right now. Sometimes the problem is happening inside your imagination. Many people believe peace will come later. They tell themselves, "I will be happy when everything becomes perfect. I will relax when my future is secure. I will feel peaceful when people finally understand me. I will enjoy life when I have more money, more success, more love, more respect, or more certainty. But Buddhism teaches that this is a trap. If your peace depends on life becoming perfect, then peace will always remain far away. Because life will always contain something uncertain. There will always be another problem, another responsibility, another fear, another goal, and another situation that does not go exactly as planned. The mind keeps moving the finish line. Today it says, I will be happy when this problem is solved. Then when that problem is solved, another worry appears. Then another desire appears. Then another fear appears. And slowly, a person spends their whole life chasing peace, but never actually living peacefully. They keep waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. But the truth is, peace is not something you find only when life becomes easy. Peace is something you practice even while life is imperfect. Living in the present moment does not mean you ignore your responsibilities. It does not mean you stop planning for the future. It does not mean you pretend the past never happened. It means you stop allowing the past and future to completely steal your life from you. You can learn from the past without living there. You can prepare for the future without fearing it every second. You can take care of what matters without losing your inner calm. Buddhism teaches awareness, because awareness brings you back to reality. When you are aware, you notice your breath, you notice your body, you notice your thoughts without being controlled by them. You notice that one fearful thought is only a thought, not a command. You notice that one painful memory is only a memory, not your entire life. You notice that this moment is simple, but your mind is making it complicated. For example, you may be sitting quietly, but your mind suddenly remembers something painful from the past. Maybe someone hurt you, rejected you, insulted you, or left you when you needed them. If you are not aware, your mind will pull you into that memory as if it is happening again. You will feel the anger again. You will feel the sadness again. You will feel the rejection again. But if you are aware, you can say, this is a memory. It is not happening right now. I can feel it, but I do not need to live inside it. This small shift creates freedom. The same thing happens with the future. You may be peaceful for a moment, then suddenly your mind begins imagining problems. It creates scenes that have not happened. It tells you that you will fail, that people will abandon you, that your life will fall apart, or that you are running out of time. If you believe every thought, you will suffer before life even gives you a real reason to suffer. But if you are aware, you can pause and say, this is fear speaking. This is not reality yet. I will deal with life when it arrives. But I do not need to punish myself before anything happens. This is the power of the present moment. It teaches you to return to what is real. Right now, you do not need to solve your whole future. Right now, you do not need to understand every answer. Right now, you do not need to carry every problem at once. You only need to breathe, stay aware, and take the next right step. Life becomes easier when you stop trying to live your entire life in one moment. Many people make themselves suffer because they carry yesterday, today, and tomorrow all at the same time. They carry the pain of the past, the pressure of the present, and the fear of the future. No wonder their soul feels exhausted. No human mind was meant to carry everything at once. Buddhism teaches you to put down what is not here. If the past is gone, learn from it, but do not keep reopening the wound. If the future has not arrived, prepare with wisdom, but do not live in fear. Come back to this breath. Come back to this moment. Come back to your life. When you live in the present moment, even simple things become beautiful again. A quiet morning feels peaceful. A deep breath feels healing. A cup of tea feels warm. A walk outside feels calming. A small moment of silence feels meaningful. The world did not change. Your attention changed. And when your attention changes, your experience of life changes. Most people think life is empty because they are never fully present inside it. They are always chasing the next thing. They finish one goal and immediately worry about the next goal. They receive one blessing and immediately fear losing it. They are surrounded by life, but they cannot feel it because their mind is always somewhere else. Buddhism reminds you that happiness is often not missing from your life. Your attention is missing from the present moment. This does not mean every present moment will feel joyful. Some moments are painful. Some moments are confusing. Some moments are lonely. Some moments bring grief, disappointment, or fear. But even then, the present moment is still the only place where healing can begin. You cannot heal yesterday by living inside it forever. You cannot heal tomorrow by fearing it before it arrives. Healing begins when you honestly meet what is here, breathe through it, and stop running away from yourself. Sometimes people resist the present moment because they do not like what they feel. They do not want to feel sadness. They do not want to feel loneliness. They do not want to feel uncertainty. So they distract themselves with noise, scrolling, overthinking, chasing people, or staying busy. But whatever you refuse to feel does not disappear. It waits inside you. Buddhism teaches that peace comes not from escaping your feelings, but from observing them with patience. When sadness appears, you do not need to become the sadness. You can simply notice it. When fear appears, you do not need to obey the fear. You can simply breathe with it. When anger appears, you do not need to act from anger. You can watch it rise and fall. Every emotion is temporary. It comes, it stays for a while, and then it changes. But when you resist an emotion, you make it stronger. When you observe it calmly, you allow it to pass. This is why the present moment is so powerful. It gives you space between what you feel and how you respond. Without awareness, you react automatically. Someone says something and you explode. A problem appears and you panic. A memory returns and you sink into sadness. But when you are present, you create a pause. In that pause, you find your power. You can choose patience instead of reaction. You can choose silence instead of anger. You can choose wisdom instead of fear. Living in the present moment also teaches gratitude. Not forced gratitude, but real gratitude. You begin to notice the things you used to ignore. You notice that you still have breath in your lungs. You notice that today is not gone yet. You notice that you still have a chance to change your direction. You notice that not everything in your life is broken. Even if some things are difficult, there are still small things holding you together. Many people only realize the value of the present moment after it becomes the past. They wish they had enjoyed certain days more. They wish they had loved more deeply. They wish they had stopped worrying so much. They wish they had paid attention while life was still happening. But Buddhism teaches you not to wait until life is gone to understand its value. This moment is not small. This moment is your life. And once it passes, you cannot return to it. So ask yourself honestly, how much of your life are you missing because your mind is always somewhere else? How many peaceful moments have you destroyed by worrying? How many beautiful days have you wasted by replaying old pain? How many blessings have you ignored because you were focused only on what was missing? The present moment will not always give you everything you want, but it will always give you something real. And reality is where peace begins. Not in the story your mind creates, not in the future you fear, not in the past you keep replaying. Peace begins here, with this breath, this awareness, this moment. Buddhism teaches that when you return to the present, life becomes lighter. You stop fighting shadows from the past. You stop suffering from imagined futures. You stop carrying problems that are not asking to be carried right now. You learn to live one breath at a time, one step at a time, one moment at a time. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Because the person who can stay present can stay peaceful even when life is uncertain. They do not need everything to be perfect before they breathe. They do not need every answer before they rest. They do not need complete control before they feel calm. They understand that peace is not found by escaping life. Peace is found by fully meeting life as it is. So come back to the present moment. Come back to your breath. Come back to the life that is happening now. Stop living inside yesterday's pain and tomorrow's fear. You are here. You are alive. You still have this moment. And sometimes this moment is enough to begin again. 7. The less you resist life, the happier you become. At some point in life, you begin to understand something very simple but very powerful. Life becomes heavier when you keep fighting it. Not because every situation is impossible, but because your mind keeps resisting what is already happening. You resist change. You resist uncertainty. You resist people leaving. You resist plans failing. You resist emotions that feel uncomfortable. You resist the truth, because the truth does not look the way you wanted it to look. But Buddhism teaches that resistance creates suffering. Life itself already brings pain sometimes. But when you fight the pain, deny the pain, or mentally argue with the pain, you create a second layer of suffering. The first pain is what happened. The second pain is your resistance to what happened, and often the second pain becomes heavier than the first. For example, a situation may not go your way. Maybe a plan fails. Maybe someone disappoints you. Maybe life changes suddenly. The situation itself may be painful, but then your mind begins to fight it. It says, "This should not have happened. Why is life doing this to me? Why can't things be different? Why can't people behave the way I want? Why can't I control this?" The mind keeps arguing with reality, and because reality does not change just because you resist it, your suffering grows deeper. This is why the less you resist life, the happier you become. Happiness does not mean everything becomes perfect. It means your mind stops turning every imperfect moment into a war. You stop demanding that life must always obey your expectations before you allow yourself to feel peaceful. You stop making your happiness depend on everything outside of you being exactly right. Buddhism does not teach you to become careless. It does not teach you to stop trying. It does not teach you to accept disrespect, laziness, or failure without action. It teaches you to stop fighting what you cannot control and to respond with wisdom to what you can control. There is a big difference between surrender and giving up. Giving up says, nothing matters. Surrender says, I will do my part, but I will not destroy my peace over what is not in my hands. This is where real freedom begins. You do your best, but you stop trying to force every result. You love people, but you stop trying to control their choices. You make plans, but you stop falling apart when life changes direction. You care about your future, but you stop punishing yourself with fear every night. You learn to move through life with effort, but without unnecessary tension inside your heart. Many people are unhappy because they believe life must happen exactly the way they imagined. They have a fixed picture in their mind. They think, by this age I should have this. This person should love me like this. My life should look like that. My success should happen at this time. My healing should be finished by now. But life does not always follow the timeline of your mind. Sometimes life moves slowly. Sometimes life removes what you wanted. Sometimes life delays what you hoped for. Sometimes life gives you lessons before it gives you blessings. When you resist this, you suffer. You start comparing your life to others. You start feeling behind. You start believing something is wrong with you because your path looks different. But Buddhism teaches that comparison is another form of resistance. You are resisting your own journey because you are attached to someone else's timing. You are rejecting your own life because it does not look like another person's life. Peace comes when you stop fighting your path. Your life does not need to look like anyone else's life to have meaning. Your healing does not need to be fast to be real. Your growth does not need to be visible to be powerful. Some of the most important changes happen quietly inside you. Sometimes life is not moving slowly because you are failing. Sometimes life is moving slowly because you are being shaped. The less you resist life, the more you begin to trust the process of your own becoming. You stop asking every situation to give you instant comfort. You stop judging every delay as punishment. You stop seeing every loss as the end. You begin to understand that life is always moving, always changing, always teaching. Even when things feel difficult, something inside you is learning how to become stronger, calmer, and wiser. This does not mean pain disappears. Pain is part of life. You will still feel sadness. You will still feel disappointment. You will still feel fear sometimes. But when you stop resisting these feelings, they lose some of their power over you. Instead of saying, I should not feel this, you say, this feeling is here right now, and I can observe it. Instead of running away from sadness, you sit with it gently. Instead of fighting fear, you breathe through it. Instead of hating uncertainty, you learn to live with it one moment at a time. Buddhism teaches that every emotion is temporary. No feeling stays forever. Anger rises and falls. Sadness rises and falls. Fear rises and falls. Anxiety rises and falls. But when you resist an emotion, you keep it alive longer. When you say, I should not feel this, you create tension. When you say, why am I like this? You create shame. When you say this feeling must go away right now, you create pressure. But when you simply observe the feeling, you allow it to move through you. This is one of the deepest forms of peace. You realize you do not need to control every emotion to be okay. You do not need to be happy every second to have a good life. You do not need to feel strong every day to be strong. Some days strength looks like breathing calmly while your heart is heavy. Some days strength looks like not reacting when your mind wants to panic. Some days strength looks like accepting the moment without adding more suffering to it. The less you resist life, the more energy you save. Think about how much energy people waste fighting what they cannot change. They replay conversations. They imagine different endings. They try to control how people see them. They worry about things that may never happen. They carry old pain into new days. They argue with reality inside their mind again and again. This kind of resistance quietly drains the soul. But when you stop resisting, your energy returns to you. You no longer spend your whole day mentally fighting invisible battles. You have more strength to focus on what truly matters. You can take better action because your mind is clearer. You can make wiser decisions because you are not reacting from fear. You can enjoy small moments because your attention is not trapped in constant mental conflict. This is why acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance gives you power. When you accept reality, you stop wasting energy denying it. You can finally ask, "What can I do now?" That question is powerful because it brings you back to the present moment. It moves you away from complaining and toward clarity. It helps you respond to life instead of being controlled by life. If something is over, acceptance helps you heal. If something is uncertain, acceptance helps you stay calm. If something is painful, acceptance helps you face it without breaking yourself further. If something cannot be changed, acceptance helps you stop carrying it like a punishment. Acceptance does not make every problem disappear, but it stops your mind from making the problem heavier than it needs to be. Many people think they are protecting themselves by resisting life. They think if they worry enough, they will be ready. If they control enough, they will be safe. If they hold on tightly enough, they will not lose anything. But life cannot be controlled that way. The more tightly you hold everything, the more afraid you become of losing it. The more you demand certainty, the more anxious you become in uncertainty. The more you force life, the more life feels like a battle. Real peace begins when you loosen your grip. You stop trying to hold the whole world in your hands. You stop believing that every problem must be solved immediately. You stop treating every delay like a disaster. You stop turning every uncomfortable moment into proof that life is against you. You begin to breathe again because you understand that not everything needs your resistance. Some things need patience. Some things need time. Some things need silence. Some things need to be released. Letting life handle some problems does not mean you become passive. It means you stop carrying what is not yours to carry. You can do your part with honesty, effort, and wisdom. But after that, you must allow life to move. You cannot force people to change. You cannot force the future to arrive early. You cannot force every answer to appear before its time. You cannot force every door to open just because you are afraid of waiting. Sometimes life handles problems better when you stop interfering with panic. Sometimes silence solves what arguing cannot solve. Sometimes distance reveals what closeness could not show. Sometimes time exposes the truth without you needing to chase it. Sometimes what feels like a delay is life protecting you from something you cannot yet see. The less you resist life, the more you begin to understand trust. Not blind trust that everything will be easy, but quiet trust that you can meet whatever comes. You trust yourself to survive change. You trust yourself to heal from pain. You trust yourself to continue after disappointment. You trust that even when life does not go according to your plan, you can still find a way forward. This kind of trust makes you happier because it removes the heavy need to control everything. You no longer wake up every day trying to force life into your exact shape. You begin to walk with life. You begin to listen. You begin to notice when something is asking to be released. You begin to see when a door is closed for a reason. You begin to feel when your peace is more important than your attachment. And slowly, life becomes lighter. Not because every problem disappears, but because you stop becoming a problem to yourself. You stop attacking yourself for feeling emotions. You stop shaming yourself for not having all the answers. You stop blaming life for being uncertain. You stop living as if happiness can only exist after everything becomes perfect. Happiness becomes possible in simple moments. A quiet breath. A peaceful morning. A small step forward. A moment of acceptance. A moment where you do not react. A moment where you choose peace instead of control. These moments may look small, but they slowly change your entire life. Buddhism teaches that peace is found when the mind stops clinging. Clinging says, "This must happen for me to be happy." Peace says, "I will do my part, but I will not lose myself if life moves differently." Clinging says, This person must stay. Peace says, I can love, but I cannot control. Clinging says, my future must be certain. Peace says, I can take the next step without knowing the whole road. This is the heart of the lesson. The less you resist life, the happier you become, because you stop making life your enemy. You stop fighting every change, every ending, every delay, and every uncomfortable feeling. You learn to soften without becoming weak. You learn to accept without becoming passive. You learn to let go without losing yourself. So when life does not go your way, breathe before you resist. When a plan changes, breathe before you panic. When someone disappoints you, breathe before you chase. When uncertainty appears, breathe before you imagine the worst. Ask yourself, am I responding to life, or am I fighting reality? This question can bring you back to wisdom. You do not need to carry every problem like the world depends on your worry. You do not need to solve your entire future today. You do not need to force every person, every answer, and every outcome. Some things will become clear when the time is right. Some things will leave because they are not meant to stay. Some things will heal when you stop touching the wound every day. Let life breathe. Let time work. Let your heart rest. Do your part, but release the rest. This is not giving up. This is learning how to live without turning every moment into a battle. The happiest life does not come from controlling everything. It comes from trusting yourself enough to stop resisting everything. It comes from understanding that life will change, people will change, plans will change, and emotions will change. But you can remain steady inside all of it. So let go a little more. Stop fighting the present moment. Stop resisting what is already here. Stop forcing life to move faster than it is moving. Breathe deeply and return to peace. Because sometimes the life you are trying so hard to control becomes beautiful only when you finally stop fighting it. 8. Let go and let life handle all your problems. There comes a point in life when you realize that not every problem needs your panic. Not every situation needs your control. Not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every person needs to be chased, explained to, or convinced. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is step back, breathe deeply, and allow life to handle what your anxious mind cannot fix by force. Many people suffer because they believe they must carry everything alone. They wake up thinking about problems. They sleep thinking about problems. Even when nothing is happening in the present moment, their mind keeps searching for something to fear. They believe if they stop worrying, everything will fall apart. But Buddhism teaches that worry is not wisdom. Worry is not preparation. Worry is not control. Worry is only the mind trying to protect itself from uncertainty. But instead of protecting you, it keeps you trapped in fear. Letting life handle your problems does not mean you become lazy. It does not mean you sit and do nothing. It does not mean you ignore your responsibilities or pretend that problems are not real. It means you do what is truly in your control, and then you stop mentally torturing yourself over what is not in your hands. You take the right action, but you release the desperate need to control the final result. This is where peace begins. Sometimes you have already done everything you can. You have explained yourself. You have tried your best. You have worked hard. You have waited patiently. You have given your energy, your time, and your effort. But still your mind keeps saying, do more, think more, worry more, control more. And this is where suffering begins. Because there are moments when doing more does not solve the problem. Sometimes it only destroys your peace. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering. When you are attached to one outcome, your whole peace depends on that outcome happening exactly as you want. If life moves your way, you feel calm. If life moves differently, you feel broken. But this is not true peace. This is emotional dependence on circumstances. Real peace begins when you learn to stay steady, even when the outcome is uncertain. Think about water. Water does not fight every obstacle. It does not scream at the rock in its path. It does not stop moving because the road is not straight. It flows around the obstacle and continues forward. This is how the wise person lives. They do not waste all their energy fighting what cannot be moved. They adapt. They breathe. They flow. They trust the movement of life without losing themselves in resistance. Many problems become worse because we keep touching them with fear. You may have a small problem, but the mind keeps repeating it until it becomes huge. You think about it in the morning. You think about it while eating. You think about it while working. You think about it before sleeping. The problem may only be one part of your life, but your mind turns it into your whole life. This is why you feel exhausted, not because the problem is always destroying you, but because your thoughts keep feeding it. Sometimes you need to stop asking, "How do I control this?" and start asking, "How do I remain peaceful while this unfolds?" This question changes everything. Because some situations need time. Some people reveal their truth slowly. Some answers come after silence. Some doors open only when you stop knocking with desperation. Some problems solve themselves when you stop adding fear to them. Life has its own rhythm, but the anxious mind wants everything immediately. It wants quick answers, quick healing, quick success, quick certainty, and quick closure. But life does not always move according to your fear. There are moments when life is teaching you patience. There are moments when life is teaching you trust. There are moments when life is teaching you to stop depending on control for peace. And there are moments when life is not punishing you, it is protecting you from something you cannot yet understand. Sometimes the person who left was not your loss. Sometimes the delay was not failure. Sometimes the rejection was not the end. Sometimes the closed door was not life being cruel. It was life moving you away from something that was not aligned with your peace. But when you resist everything, you cannot see the hidden wisdom inside the situation. You only see the pain, the fear, and the disappointment. Letting life handle your problems means trusting that you do not need to understand everything immediately. You do not need to know the whole road before taking the next step. You do not need every person to understand you. You do not need every situation to make sense today. Some things only become clear after time has passed. Some lessons only make sense when you look back and realize that what hurt you was also shaping you. Buddhism teaches that everything is temporary. Your pain is temporary. Your confusion is temporary. Your fear is temporary. Your difficult season is temporary. But when you panic, you treat a temporary moment like a permanent life sentence. You tell yourself, "This will never change. I will always feel this way. My life will never become better." But these are only thoughts. They are not truth. They are fear speaking loudly inside your mind. The wise person does not believe every thought. The wise person observes. They say, "This is fear. This is anxiety. This is sadness. This is uncertainty. But it is not my whole life. It is only a passing moment." When you observe your emotions instead of becoming them, you create space inside yourself. And in that space, peace becomes possible. Many people think they are helping themselves by constantly worrying, but worry does not open doors faster. Worry does not make people love you better. Worry does not change the past. Worry does not guarantee the future. Worry only steals your strength from the present moment. It takes the energy you could use for healing, growth, and action, and turns it into mental suffering. You must learn to separate responsibility from control. Responsibility means doing your part, Control means trying to force everything beyond your part. Responsibility is healthy. Control is exhausting. Responsibility says, I will act with wisdom. Control says, everything must happen exactly how I want. Responsibility brings peace. Control brings anxiety. So do your part. Speak honestly. Work sincerely. Make the effort. Take care of your health. Protect your peace. Make better choices. But after that, let life move. Let people show who they are. Let time reveal what is true. Let silence answer what noise cannot. Let closed doors stay closed if opening them destroys your soul. You do not need to chase what is meant to leave. You do not need to beg for what is meant to stay. You do not need to force respect, love, peace, or understanding. What is real will not require you to lose yourself completely. And what is not real will keep draining you, no matter how tightly you hold it. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop interfering with life through fear. Stop trying to pull everything closer. Stop trying to fix every person. Stop trying to force every situation into your plan. Stop trying to control how others see you. Stop trying to explain your heart to people committed to misunderstanding you. Let life handle them. Let time reveal the truth. Let your peace be your answer. This does not mean you become cold. It means you become wise. You learn where your energy belongs and where it is being wasted. You learn that not every battle deserves your attention. Not every problem deserves your sleepless nights. Not every person deserves access to your inner world. Sometimes peace comes when you finally stop participating in your own suffering. There is deep freedom in saying, I have done what I can. Now I release the rest. This one sentence can change your life. Because when you release the rest, your mind begins to breathe again. Your body relaxes. Your heart softens. You stop living as if everything depends on your worry. You realize that life has carried you through many things before. You have survived days you thought would break you. You have healed from pain you thought would never end. You have moved forward even when you did not know how. So maybe this moment also does not need your panic. Maybe it needs your patience. Buddhism teaches that peace comes when you stop clinging. Clinging says, I must have this. Peace says, I will accept what is true. Clinging says, this must happen now. Peace says, I trust the timing of life. Clinging says, I cannot be okay unless everything goes my way. Peace says, I can remain steady even when life changes. The less you cling, the more peaceful you become. The less you force, the more life can breathe. The less you resist, the happier your soul becomes. So when problems come, do not immediately panic. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is truly in my control right now? If there is something you can do it calmly. If there is nothing you can do, stop punishing yourself with endless worry. Let the moment unfold. Let time work. Let life reveal the next step. You do not need to solve your whole future today. You do not need to carry every fear at once. You do not need to understand every painful situation immediately. You only need to return to this moment and take one peaceful step. Let go of the need to know everything. Let go of the need to control everyone. Let go of the need to force life to move faster. Let go of the belief that worry keeps you safe. Let go of the thought that your peace must wait until every problem disappears. Because peace is not found after life becomes perfect. Peace is found when you stop fighting life as it is. And slowly, as you let go, you begin to feel lighter. You realize that some burdens were never yours to carry. Some battles were never yours to fight. Some answers were never meant to be forced. Some people were never meant to be chased. Some chapters were meant to close so your soul could finally rest. Let life handle what your mind cannot fix. Let time reveal what your eyes cannot see. Let silence heal what words cannot repair. Let trust replace fear, and let peace become stronger than your need for control. Because sometimes the problem does not need more resistance. It needs space. It needs patience. It needs your calmness. And sometimes the moment you stop trying to control everything is the moment life finally begins to take care of what was breaking you. 9. Trust life even when you do not understand it. There are moments in life when nothing makes sense. You try your best, but things still fall apart. You care deeply, but people still leave. You plan carefully, but life still changes direction. You pray for peace, but your mind still feels heavy. In those moments, the hardest thing to do is trust life. Because the mind wants answers immediately. It wants to know why something happened, why something ended, why something was delayed, and why life did not follow the path you imagined. But Buddhism teaches that not everything needs to be understood immediately. Some things only make sense with time. Some lessons reveal themselves slowly. Some painful experiences look meaningless in the beginning, but later you realize they changed your direction, strengthened your mind, and saved you from a life that was not truly right for you. The problem is that the anxious mind wants the full picture before the picture is complete. Most people suffer because they judge life too early. They see one painful chapter and think the whole story is ruined. They face one rejection and believe life is against them. They lose one person and believe they have lost their future. They experience one delay and think they are failing. But life is much bigger than one moment. One difficult season does not mean your whole life is broken. One closed door does not mean every door is closed. One painful ending does not mean peace will never return. Sometimes life removes things you were too attached to because those things were quietly destroying you. Sometimes life slows you down because you were moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes life makes you uncomfortable because comfort was keeping you small. Sometimes life takes away what you wanted because it is preparing you for what you truly need. But when you are inside the pain, you cannot always see the wisdom behind it. This is why trust is important. Trust does not mean you pretend everything feels good. Trust does not mean you ignore pain. Trust does not mean you smile while your heart is breaking. Trust means you stop believing that every painful moment is the end of your happiness. Trust means you allow life to unfold without constantly attacking it with fear. Trust means you understand that just because you do not understand something today does not mean it has no purpose. Many people want life to explain itself before they feel peaceful. They say, "I will relax when I know why this happened. I will move on when I understand everything. I will feel calm when I can see the full result." But life does not always give answers quickly. Sometimes you only understand the lesson after you have grown enough to see it clearly. Sometimes time is the teacher. Sometimes silence is the answer. Sometimes peace comes not from knowing everything, but from accepting that you do not need to know everything right now. Buddhism teaches that attachment to certainty creates suffering. The mind wants guarantees. It wants to know that every effort will succeed, every relationship will last, every choice will be safe, and every problem will end exactly the way you want. But life cannot give you that kind of certainty. Life is always changing. People change, feelings change, plans change, seasons change, and the more you demand certainty from an uncertain world, the more anxious you become. Trusting life means learning to live without needing complete certainty. It means taking the next step even when you cannot see the whole road. It means doing your best today without forcing tomorrow to reveal itself. It means staying calm in the middle of uncertainty, Because you understand that fear does not create safety. Fear only makes the present moment heavier. Think about how many times in your life something felt terrible at first, but later you realized it protected you. Maybe a person left, and at the time you felt abandoned. But later you saw that their absence gave you space to become stronger. Maybe an opportunity failed, and at the time you felt rejected. But later another path opened that was better for your growth. Maybe you did not get what you wanted, and at the time you felt punished. But later you realized that what you wanted would not have given you peace. Life often makes sense backward, not forward. While you are walking through the problem, everything looks confusing. But when you look back, after time has passed, you begin to see the pattern. You see why certain people had to leave. You see why certain plans had to fail. You see why certain delays were necessary. You see how life was not always hurting you. Sometimes it was redirecting you. But the mind does not like waiting. The mind wants answers now. The mind wants control now. The mind wants comfort now. This is where suffering begins. Because life may be asking for patience, but your mind is demanding speed. Life may be asking for silence, but your mind is demanding explanations. Life may be asking for trust, but your mind is demanding control. A peaceful person understands that not every season is for action. Some seasons are for learning. Some seasons are for healing. Some seasons are for being still. Some seasons are for letting go. Some seasons are for rebuilding your inner strength quietly. But if you resist every slow season, you will suffer more than necessary. You will think nothing is happening, when actually something deep inside you is changing. Buddhism teaches that growth is not always visible. A seed does not become a tree in one day. For a long time, most of its growth happens underground, hidden from the eyes. If you looked at the ground every day, you might think nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Strength is developing. Life is preparing itself before it rises. You are the same. There are times when it looks like your life is not moving. You feel stuck. You feel delayed. You feel unseen. You feel like everyone else is moving ahead while you are still waiting. But maybe life is growing roots inside you. Maybe patience is becoming stronger. Maybe wisdom is becoming deeper. Maybe your heart is learning not to depend on quick results. Maybe your soul is being prepared for something you could not handle before. Do not judge your life only by what you can see today. Some of your deepest progress is happening silently. Some of your strongest transformation happens during the seasons where you feel most lost. Pain can teach you what comfort never could. Silence can reveal what noise was hiding. Loss can show you what truly matters. Waiting can teach you patience. Uncertainty can teach you trust. This does not mean you should do nothing. Trusting life does not mean becoming passive. You still take responsibility. You still make choices. You still work, heal, grow, learn, and move forward. But you stop trying to force life to explain every detail before you breathe. You stop making your peace dependent on immediate answers. You do your part, and then you allow life to do its part. There is peace in saying, I do not understand this right now, but I will not destroy myself trying to force the answer. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Because some answers cannot be forced. Some truths need time to reveal themselves. Some people show their real nature only after you stop chasing them. Some situations become clear only after you step back. Some paths open only after you stop knocking on the wrong door. If you keep forcing everything, you may interrupt the natural wisdom of life. Sometimes the best thing you can do is pause. Stop reacting. Stop chasing. Stop trying to solve everything with an anxious mind. Let the dust settle. Let emotions calm down. Let time reveal what fear cannot see. When your mind is panicking, everything looks worse than it is. But when your mind becomes quiet, you can see life more clearly. This is why Buddhism teaches stillness. Stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is clarity. When the water is disturbed, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water becomes calm, everything becomes visible. Your mind is the same. When it is full of fear, resistance, and overthinking, you cannot see the truth clearly. But when it becomes still, wisdom appears naturally. Trusting life means trusting that clarity will come when your mind is ready to receive it. You may not know why something happened today. You may not know why a door closed. You may not know why a person changed. You may not know why your plan failed. But you can still choose peace while the answer is forming. Many people lose peace because they keep asking questions that cannot be answered yet. Why did this happen? What if things never get better? What if I made the wrong choice? What if I lose everything? What if I never find peace? These questions may feel important, but if they come from fear, they will only create more fear. Sometimes the mind asks questions not to find truth, but to keep itself busy with suffering. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is life trying to teach me through this?" This question changes your energy. It moves you from victimhood to awareness. It helps you see that even pain can become a teacher. Even disappointment can become wisdom. Even uncertainty can become training for a calmer mind. Maybe life is teaching you patience because you always rushed. Maybe life is teaching you detachment because you held on too tightly. Maybe life is teaching you self-respect because you kept begging for love from the wrong people. Maybe life is teaching you silence because you explained yourself too much. Maybe life is teaching you courage because fear controlled your choices for too long. Every difficult season carries a lesson, but you cannot receive the lesson if you only resist the pain. When you stop fighting life, you begin to learn from life. You stop seeing every problem as punishment. You start seeing it as practice. Practice for patience, practice for strength, practice for acceptance, practice for wisdom. The happier person is not the one who understands everything. The happier person is the one who can remain peaceful even without understanding everything. They do not need life to explain every delay. They do not need every person to apologize. They do not need every ending to make sense immediately. They trust that time will reveal what needs to be revealed, and what remains unknown does not need to control their peace. This is a powerful way to live, because when you stop demanding answers from life, your mind becomes lighter. You stop carrying the burden of needing to understand everything. You stop turning uncertainty into fear. You stop punishing yourself for not knowing the future. You begin to live one day at a time, one breath at a time, one step at a time. And slowly, happiness returns. Not the loud kind of happiness that depends on everything going perfectly, but the quiet kind of happiness that comes from inner trust. A happiness that says, "Life is uncertain, but I can still be calm." A happiness that says, "I do not know the full path, but I can take the next step." A happiness that says, "I have survived before, and I can continue now." This is the peace Buddhism points toward, a peace that does not depend on controlling life, a peace that comes from flowing with life, a peace that grows when you stop resisting what is, stop fearing what may come, and stop clinging to what has already passed. So when life feels confusing, do not rush to panic. Breathe. When something ends, do not immediately believe your life is over. Breathe. When a delay happens, Do not call yourself a failure. Breathe. When the future feels unclear, do not torture yourself trying to see the whole road. Breathe. Tell yourself, I do not understand everything right now, but I trust that clarity will come. I will do my part. I will stay present. I will stop fighting what I cannot control. This is how you let life handle what your mind cannot solve. You allow time to reveal the truth. You allow silence to bring clarity. You allow closed doors to remain closed. You allow people to show who they are. You allow your emotions to pass without becoming your entire identity. You allow life to move without trying to control every step. And as you do this, your heart becomes lighter. You stop feeling like you must carry the whole future today. You stop living as if every problem must be solved before sunset. You stop believing that uncertainty is dangerous. You start realizing that uncertainty is simply part of life, and you are strong enough to meet it. Trust life even when you do not understand it. Trust the season you are in, even if it feels slow. Trust the lesson, even if it feels painful. Trust the path, even if it looks different from what you imagined. Trust yourself, even when you do not have all the answers. Because one day, you may look back and realize that the moment you thought life was falling apart was actually the moment life was quietly putting you on a better path. And until that day comes, your work is simple. Breathe, release, stay present, and stop resisting the life that is trying to teach you. 10. Stop fighting what is trying to teach you. Sometimes the problem you are resisting is not only a problem. Sometimes it is a teacher. Sometimes the situation you hate is showing you something you need to understand. Sometimes the delay, the loss, the rejection, the disappointment, or the silence is not only there to hurt you, it is there to wake you up, slow you down, strengthen your mind, and guide you back to yourself. But when you resist everything that feels uncomfortable, you miss the lesson inside the experience. Buddhism teaches that life is always changing, and every change carries a message if you are willing to observe it with awareness. But most people do not observe their pain. They fight it. They complain about it. They run away from it. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" again and again, but they never stop long enough to ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" This is why many people keep repeating the same suffering in different forms. They do not learn from pain. They only resist it. When something uncomfortable happens, the first reaction of the mind is rejection. The mind says, "I do not want this. This should not be happening. This is unfair. This is ruining my life." But sometimes the uncomfortable moment is revealing a truth you ignored for too long. Maybe it is showing you that you were attached to someone who did not respect your peace. Maybe it is showing you that you were depending too much on approval. Maybe it is showing you that you were trying to control everything because you did not trust yourself. Maybe it is showing you that your happiness was built on something outside of you. If you only resist the situation, you will only see the pain. But if you become still, you may begin to see the lesson. A difficult person may teach you boundaries. A painful ending may teach you detachment. A delay may teach you patience. A failure may teach you humility. A quiet season may teach you self-reliance. A disappointment may teach you not to place your peace in unstable hands. Even the things that break your heart can teach you how to become wiser, calmer, and stronger. This does not mean pain is easy. It does not mean you should pretend that suffering feels good. Buddhism does not teach fake happiness. It teaches awareness. It teaches you to look deeply into life instead of reacting blindly to everything. When pain comes, you do not need to become bitter. You can become more conscious. You can say, "This hurts," but I will not let it make me blind. I will learn from this. I will grow through this. I will not waste this experience. Many people want life to be comfortable all the time, but comfort does not always create wisdom. Sometimes comfort keeps you asleep. It allows you to stay attached, distracted, and unaware. But difficulty forces you to look at yourself. It shows you where you are still clinging. It shows you where fear is controlling you. It shows you what you keep avoiding. It shows you the parts of yourself that still need healing. This is why some problems are not punishments. They are mirrors. They show you what is happening inside you. If one person's silence destroys your whole peace, life may be showing you that your inner stability depends too much on others. If one failure makes you hate yourself, life may be showing you that your worth is too attached to success. If one change makes you panic, life may be showing you that you are too dependent on certainty. These moments are uncomfortable, but they are also honest. A wise person does not only ask life to become easier. A wise person asks to become more awake. Because when you become more awake, even difficult situations become useful. You stop seeing every challenge as an enemy. You start seeing it as training for your mind. You start understanding that life is not always attacking you. Sometimes life is teaching you how to stop attacking yourself with fear, resistance, and attachment. Think about how often people suffer because they refuse to learn the same lesson. They keep returning to people who hurt them because they have not learned self-respect. They keep overthinking because they have not learned trust. They keep chasing approval because they have not learned their own worth. They keep forcing outcomes because they have not learned patience. They keep reacting emotionally because they have not learned awareness. Life will repeat a lesson until you finally understand it. This is not because life hates you. It is because the mind often refuses to change until discomfort becomes impossible to ignore. Sometimes pain becomes the doorway to wisdom because it forces you to stop living unconsciously. When you stop fighting what life is trying to teach you, your suffering becomes lighter. The situation may still hurt, but it no longer feels meaningless. You begin to understand that every experience can shape you if you allow it. You stop asking only for escape, and you start asking for understanding. You stop saying, "Get me out of this," and you begin saying, "Help me grow through this." This small shift changes everything. Because when you only want escape, you remain afraid of discomfort. But when you seek understanding, discomfort becomes a teacher. You no longer feel powerless in every painful moment. You begin to see that even when you cannot control what happens, you can control how consciously you respond. You can choose patience. You can choose silence. You can choose wisdom. You can choose not to repeat old patterns. Buddhism teaches that the mind becomes free when it stops clinging to pleasure and resisting pain. Most people want only pleasant experiences. They want happiness, comfort, love, success, praise, and certainty. But the moment pain appears, they reject life. They think something is wrong. They believe life has betrayed them. But both pleasure and pain are part of human life. Both come and go. Both are temporary. If you cling to pleasure and resist pain, your peace will always be unstable. A peaceful person understands that every season has something to teach. The joyful season teaches gratitude. The lonely season teaches self-connection. The difficult season teaches strength. The uncertain season teaches trust. The painful season teaches compassion. The quiet season teaches patience. Nothing is wasted when you are awake enough to learn from it. Sometimes the lesson is to let go. Sometimes the lesson is to stop explaining yourself. Sometimes the lesson is to stop chasing people who have already shown you who they are. Sometimes the lesson is to stop waiting for perfect conditions before you begin. Sometimes the lesson is to stop making your happiness depend on things that can change at any moment. But you cannot learn these lessons if your only reaction is resistance. Resistance says, "This should not be happening." Awareness says, "This is happening, so what can I learn from it?" Resistance says, "Life is against me." Awareness says, "Life may be showing me something I need to see." Resistance says, "I cannot handle this." Awareness says, "This is difficult, but I can meet it one breath at a time." When you live this way, you become stronger without becoming hard. You become calmer without becoming careless. You become wiser without becoming bitter. You begin to understand that peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the ability to meet life without losing yourself every time something changes. Many people want happiness, but they do not want growth. They want peace, but they do not want to release what disturbs their peace. They want a calm mind, but they keep feeding the same fears. They want life to change, but they do not want to change their own patterns. But Buddhism teaches that real transformation begins inside. Life may not always change immediately, but your relationship with life can change. And when that changes, everything feels different. For example, the same delay that once made you panic can become a lesson in patience. The same rejection that once made you feel worthless can become a lesson in self-respect. The same uncertainty that once made you anxious can become a lesson in trust. The same solitude that once made you feel abandoned can become a lesson in inner strength. The situation may look similar, but your mind is different. And when your mind is different, your suffering is different. This is how happiness begins to return. Not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop turning every lesson into a war. You stop fighting every uncomfortable teacher. You stop resisting every moment that does not match your expectations. You begin to say, "Even this can help me grow. Even this can make me wiser. Even this can bring me closer to peace." There is a deep freedom in realizing that life does not need to be understood as punishment. Life can be understood as practice. Every day gives you practice in patience, awareness, detachment, compassion, discipline, and trust. Every difficult person gives you practice in boundaries. Every uncertain moment gives you practice in surrender. Every disappointment gives you practice in letting go of attachment. But practice is not always comfortable. Training the mind is not easy. Just as the body becomes stronger through resistance, the mind becomes stronger through awareness during difficulty. The goal is not to avoid every hard moment. The goal is to stop letting hard moments control your entire inner world. You may not choose every problem, but you can choose to learn from it. You may not control every outcome, but you can control whether you become more bitter or more awake. You may not understand every situation immediately, but you can choose to meet it with patience instead of panic. This is where Buddhist wisdom becomes practical. It is not only something to think about, it is something to live. The next time life disappoints you, pause before reacting. The next time your plan fails, breathe before calling it the end. The next time someone leaves, do not immediately chase. The next time uncertainty appears, do not punish yourself with endless fear. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What attachment is being revealed? What fear is being exposed? What part of me needs more patience, more trust, or more self-respect? These questions bring you back to awareness. They help you stop wasting your pain. Because pain without awareness becomes suffering, but pain with awareness becomes wisdom. Sometimes the most important lessons come from the moments you wanted to avoid. the heartbreak that taught you self-worth, the silence that taught you not to beg, the failure that taught you discipline, the loneliness that taught you independence, the delay that taught you patience, the loss that taught you what truly matters. These experiences may hurt, but they can also awaken something powerful inside you. So stop fighting everything that feels uncomfortable. Stop believing every difficult moment is here to destroy you. Some moments are here to refine you. Some moments are here to redirect you. Some moments are here to remove your illusions. Some moments are here to teach you how strong your mind can become when you stop resisting reality. Let life teach you. Let pain open your eyes, not close your heart. Let uncertainty train your trust. Let endings create space. Let delays deepen your patience. Let silence show you what noise was hiding. Let every experience become part of your awakening. You do not need to love every lesson while it is happening. You do not need to pretend it does not hurt. But you can choose not to waste it. You can choose not to turn every wound into bitterness. You can choose not to remain trapped in the same suffering forever. You can choose to learn, release, and grow. Buddhism teaches that life is impermanent. Everything passes, every season changes, every feeling rises and falls. Every painful chapter eventually becomes part of your past, but the wisdom you gain can stay with you. The strength you build can stay with you. The awareness you develop can stay with you. This is why even hard moments can become meaningful when you meet them with consciousness. So when life becomes difficult, do not only ask for the problem to disappear, ask for the wisdom to understand it. Ask for the patience to move through it. Ask for the courage to release what must be released. Ask for the awareness to see what your resistance is trying to hide from you. Because the moment you stop fighting what life is trying to teach you, you stop being controlled by every painful experience. You become a student of life instead of a victim of life. You become calmer, wiser, and more peaceful. And slowly, you realize that the path to happiness was never about avoiding every storm. It was about learning how to walk through storms without losing the stillness inside you. 11. Peace begins when you stop carrying what is not yours. One of the biggest reasons people feel mentally tired is because they carry problems that are not fully theirs to carry. They carry other people's opinions. They carry other people's moods. They carry other people's expectations. They carry guilt that does not belong to them. They carry fear about situations they cannot control. They carry emotional weight from the past, pressure from the future, and responsibility for things that life itself must handle with time. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when the mind clings. And sometimes, the mind does not only cling to people or desires. It clings to burdens, it clings to problems, it clings to the belief that if you worry enough, think enough, or suffer enough, you can somehow control everything. But carrying something in your mind all day does not mean you are solving it. Sometimes it only means you are punishing yourself. There are problems that need your action, and there are problems that need your release. Wisdom is knowing the difference. If something is truly in your control, then take calm action. Speak honestly. Make the decision. Change the habit. Apologize if you need to. Set the boundary. Do the work. But if something is not in your control, then no amount of mental suffering will change it. Worrying will not force people to understand you. Overthinking will not change the past. Anxiety will not make the future safe. Carrying everything will not make life move faster. Many people suffer because they believe letting go means they do not care. But letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop destroying yourself over what you cannot control. You can care about someone without carrying their choices. You can care about your future without fearing it every night. You can care about your problems without allowing them to steal your entire peace. Caring is healthy. Clinging is painful. Responsibility is wise. Control is exhausting. Sometimes you are not tired because life is too heavy. You are tired because you keep picking up what life is asking you to put down. You keep replaying conversations that already ended. You keep trying to fix people who do not want to change. You keep worrying about outcomes that have not arrived. You keep holding on to mistakes that already taught you their lesson. You keep carrying emotional weight that belongs to yesterday, not today. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is where peace lives. But you cannot feel the present moment clearly when your arms are full of old burdens. You cannot enjoy today if you are carrying every regret from yesterday and every fear about tomorrow. No human mind is meant to hold everything at once. When you try to carry your whole life in one moment, even simple days begin to feel unbearable. This is why you must learn to ask yourself, is this mine to carry right now? This question can save your peace. When someone is angry, ask yourself, is their anger mine to carry? When someone misunderstands you, ask yourself, is their opinion mine to carry? When the future feels uncertain, ask yourself, is tomorrow's problem mine to carry today? When the past returns in your mind, ask yourself, is this memory asking for healing, or am I only reopening the wound? Not every thought deserves your energy. Not every emotion needs to become your identity. Not every problem needs to be solved immediately. Some things only need space. Some things only need time. Some things only need silence. Some things become clearer when you stop touching them with fear every day. There is a deep difference between solving a problem and obsessing over a problem. Solving brings clarity. Obsession brings suffering. Solving asks, what can I do now? Obsession asks, what if everything goes wrong? Solving moves you forward. Obsession keeps you trapped in the same circle. Many people think they are solving their life, but they are only repeating the same fears in their mind again and again. Buddhism teaches awareness, because awareness helps you see what your mind is doing. Without awareness, you believe every thought. You believe every worry. You believe every painful story. You think your fear is truth. But with awareness, you begin to notice, my mind is carrying something that is not helping me. You begin to see that some thoughts do not need to be followed. Some worries do not need to be fed. Some burdens do not need to be carried any longer. Imagine holding a heavy bag in your hands. At first it may not feel too difficult, but if you hold it for hours, your arms begin to ache. If you hold it for days, your whole body becomes tired. The weight did not change, but the time you spent carrying it made it painful. Emotional burdens are the same. A memory may be painful, but carrying it every day makes it heavier. A fear may be understandable, but feeding it every night makes it stronger. A problem may be real, but holding it in your mind every second makes it feel impossible. Sometimes peace is not found by solving everything. Sometimes peace is found by putting the bag down. Putting it down does not mean the problem never existed. It does not mean the pain was not real. It does not mean you are ignoring life. It means you are giving your mind permission to rest. It means you are saying, I will return to this when I can act wisely, but I will not carry it every second. This is a powerful act of self-respect. Many people do not know how to rest because their mind believes rest is irresponsible. They think if they stop worrying, they are being careless. But worry is not responsibility. A calm mind can handle life better than a panicked mind. When you rest, you do not become weak. You become clearer. You make better decisions. You speak with more wisdom. You respond instead of reacting. You stop creating more problems from emotional exhaustion. Buddhism teaches that the mind must be trained gently. You cannot force peace by hating your anxiety. You cannot become calm by attacking your thoughts. You become peaceful by observing, breathing, releasing, and returning again and again to the present moment. Each time your mind picks up a burden that is not yours, you bring it back. Each time fear tries to control you, you breathe. Each time the past tries to pull you back, you remind yourself, that moment is gone. This moment is here. Some burdens are not yours because they belong to other people's choices. You can love people, guide people, support people, and speak truth to them, but you cannot live their lives for them. You cannot force someone to heal. You cannot force someone to become honest. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot force someone to see your worth. If you keep carrying their choices as your responsibility, you will lose your peace trying to control a life that is not yours. This is especially painful in relationships. Many people suffer because they think love means carrying everything for someone else. They carry the other person's confusion. They carry their emotional distance. They carry their bad behavior. They carry their lack of effort. They keep asking, what can I do to make them change? But Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering when you cling to what is not in your control. Love should not require you to abandon your own peace. You can care deeply and still let people be responsible for themselves. You can love someone and still stop carrying the pain they keep giving you. You can forgive someone and still choose distance. You can wish people well and still stop making their actions your emotional prison. This is not cruelty. This is wisdom. Some burdens are not yours because they belong to the past. The past can teach you, but it should not keep punishing you. If you made a mistake, learn from it. If you were hurt, heal from it. If something ended, accept what it taught you. But do not keep living there. Do not keep returning to old pain as if suffering will change what happened. The past is a teacher, not a home. Visit it for wisdom, but do not build your life inside it. Many people carry regret like a permanent identity. They say, I should have known better. I should have acted differently. I should have left sooner. I should have spoken up. I should have stayed silent. But endless self-punishment does not create healing. It only keeps you chained to a version of yourself who did not know what you know now. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to become wiser without carrying shame forever. Some burdens are not yours because they belong to the future. The future has not arrived yet, but the mind often suffers from it as if it is already happening. It imagines failure, loss, rejection, sickness, loneliness, and disappointment. Then the body reacts as if those fears are real. But most of the future you fear is only imagination. You can prepare wisely, but you do not need to suffer from 1,000 imagined problems before they even arrive. Buddhism teaches that life is lived one breath at a time. You do not need to solve the next 10 years today. You do not need to know every answer before taking one step. You do not need to hold your entire future inside your chest. Come back to what is here. Come back to what can be done now. Come back to this breath, this choice, this moment. When you stop carrying what is not yours, your energy returns. You begin to feel lighter. You have more space to think clearly. You have more patience with yourself. You stop reacting to everything from exhaustion. You stop treating every problem like an emergency. You stop giving your whole inner world to things that do not deserve that much power. This is not easy at first because the mind is used to carrying. It may feel strange to release. It may feel like you are doing something wrong when you stop worrying. But peace often feels unfamiliar to a mind that has lived in survival mode for too long. You may have to teach yourself that calmness is safe, rest is safe, letting go is safe, not controlling everything is safe. Start small. When a worry appears, do not immediately follow it. Pause. Breathe. Ask, can I do something about this right now? If yes, do it calmly. If no, release it for now. Tell yourself, this is not mine to carry in this moment. When someone's opinion hurts you, breathe and remember that you cannot control how every person sees you. When a memory returns, breathe and remind yourself that healing does not require constant replaying. When the future feels uncertain, breathe and return to the next right step. This practice will slowly change your life. You will still face problems, but you will not carry them the same way. You will still feel emotions, but you will not become trapped inside them. You will still have responsibilities, but you will handle them with a calmer mind. You will still care, but you will stop clinging. You will still love, but you will stop losing yourself. Peace begins when you understand that not everything belongs in your hands. Some things belong to time. Some things belong to other people's choices. Some things belong to the natural movement of life. Some things belong to the past and must be released. Some things belong to the future and must be allowed to arrive in their own time. You are not here to carry the whole world. You are here to live with awareness, compassion, and wisdom. You are here to do your part and release the rest. You are here to protect your peace, not destroy it in the name of control. You are here to learn that letting go is not weakness. It is the beginning of freedom. So today, put down what is not yours. Put down the opinion you cannot change. Put down the past you cannot rewrite. Put down the future you cannot control. Put down the guilt that has taught you enough. Put down the fear that keeps asking for your whole life. Put down the need to fix everything immediately. Breathe deeply and return to yourself. Life becomes lighter when you stop carrying every burden as if it belongs to you. Happiness becomes possible when your mind is no longer full of problems that are not asking to be solved today. Peace begins when you finally understand that some things are not yours to hold, not yours to force, and not yours. Allow life to move without your fear controlling it. There comes a time when you must stop treating life like an enemy that needs to be controlled. You must stop waking up every day as if something terrible is about to happen. You must stop allowing fear to become the leader of your decisions, your thoughts, your relationships, and your peace. Because when fear controls your life, you do not truly live. You only protect yourself from imagined pain while missing the real beauty that is still available in the present moment. Buddhism teaches that fear grows when the mind becomes attached to control. The mind wants life to move exactly according to its plans because it believes control will create safety. It says, if I can control this person, I will not be abandoned. If I can control this outcome, I will not be disappointed. If I can control the future, I will not suffer. But life cannot be controlled that way. People change, plans change, feelings change, circumstances change, and when your peace depends on controlling things that are always changing, your heart will always feel unstable. This is why you must learn to allow life to move. Allowing life to move does not mean you become careless. It does not mean you stop making effort. It does not mean you sit quietly while your life falls apart. It means you stop trying to control life through panic. It means you stop making fear the reason behind every action. You can still work hard. You can still make plans. You can still protect yourself. You can still make wise choices. but you no longer move from desperation. You move from clarity. Many people do not realize how much of their life is controlled by fear. They stay in painful relationships because they fear being alone. They remain in situations that drain them because they fear change. They never start something meaningful because they fear failure. They constantly overthink because they fear uncertainty. They keep explaining themselves because they fear being misunderstood. They chase people because they fear being forgotten. And slowly fear becomes the invisible master of their life. But Buddhism teaches that fear is not always truth. Fear is often only a thought that feels powerful. It speaks loudly, but that does not mean it is wise. Fear says, "You cannot handle this." Fear says, "Everything will go wrong." Fear says, "You must control this now." Fear says, "You will lose everything if you let go." But most of the time, fear is not protecting your peace. It is stealing it. A peaceful person learns to listen to fear without obeying it immediately. They do not hate fear. They do not deny it. They simply observe it. They say, "Fear is here, but fear does not need to drive my life." This is very important, because if you fight fear, it becomes stronger. If you believe fear completely, it controls you. But if you observe fear calmly, it begins to lose power. Imagine fear like a storm passing through the sky. The storm may be loud, the clouds may be dark, the wind may feel strong, but the sky itself is not destroyed by the storm. The sky allows the storm to pass. In the same way, your awareness is bigger than your fear. Fear may come, but you do not need to become fear. Anxiety may rise, but you do not need to let it make every decision for you. Uncertainty may appear, but you do not need to turn uncertainty into suffering. Most people suffer because they treat every fearful thought like a warning from reality. But many fearful thoughts are only old wounds speaking. If you were abandoned before, fear may tell you everyone will leave. If you failed before, fear may tell you not to try again. If you were judged before, fear may tell you to hide yourself. If you were hurt before, fear may tell you not to trust life anymore. But the past does not need to control the present forever. Buddhism teaches that awareness helps you see the difference between what is happening and what your mind is imagining. This difference can save your peace. Maybe life is simply uncertain, but your mind calls it danger. Maybe someone is silent, but your mind calls it rejection. Maybe a plan is delayed, but your mind calls it failure. Maybe you are in a quiet season, but your mind calls it being stuck. The mind can turn neutral moments into painful stories when fear is in control. This is why you must pause before reacting. When fear rises, do not immediately run, chase, panic, or force. Breathe first. Create space. Ask yourself, is this fear based on reality, or is my mind creating a painful story? Sometimes the answer will be clear. You will realize that your fear is not coming from the situation itself. It is coming from attachment, insecurity, memory, or the need to control. When you see fear clearly, you can respond wisely. If there is real danger, you take action. If there is only imagined fear, you return to peace. This is how you stop fear from controlling your life. Many people think letting life move means losing power, but it actually gives you power back. When you stop trying to control every person, every outcome, and every future possibility, your energy returns to you. You have more strength to focus on what truly matters. You stop wasting your life fighting invisible battles. You stop living inside problems that have not even happened. You stop suffering from imagined endings before life has written them. Allowing life to move means trusting that not everything needs your interference. Some situations become clearer when you stop forcing them. Some relationships reveal the truth when you stop chasing. Some problems become smaller when you stop feeding them with fear. Some answers arrive only when your mind becomes quiet enough to receive them. But if you constantly interfere with panic, you may create more confusion than clarity. Sometimes silence is necessary. Sometimes waiting is necessary. Sometimes distance is necessary. Sometimes not reacting is necessary. But the fearful mind hates this, because fear wants immediate control. Fear wants to text immediately, explain immediately, fix immediately, decide immediately, and know everything immediately. But wisdom does not rush, simply because fear is uncomfortable. Buddhism teaches patience, because life has its own timing. A flower does not open because you pull its petals. A seed does not grow faster because you dig it up every day to check. The moon does not rise earlier because you are impatient. Nature understands timing. Human suffering begins when the mind refuses to trust timing. You may want answers now, healing now, success now, love now, peace now, but some things unfold slowly because they need to become strong before they appear fully. You must allow life to unfold without constantly attacking it with fear. This does not mean you stop caring about your future. It means you stop turning the future into a prison. You can prepare without panicking. You can plan without obsessing. You can desire something without clinging to it. You can care deeply without making your peace dependent on one exact result. This is balance. This is maturity. This is the Buddhist path of awareness. A calm person still has goals, but they do not become a slave to the outcome. They still love, but they do not try to possess. They still work hard, but they do not hate themselves when progress is slow. They still face uncertainty, but they do not allow uncertainty to destroy their inner world. They understand that life is moving, changing, and unfolding, and they can walk with it instead of constantly fighting it. Fear becomes dangerous when it convinces you that control is the only way to feel safe. But true safety does not come from controlling everything outside of you. True safety comes from building steadiness inside yourself. When you trust your own ability to face life, you no longer need to control every detail. You can say, whatever happens, I will meet it with awareness. I will respond with wisdom. I will not abandon myself. This inner trust is powerful, because most anxiety comes from believing you cannot handle what life may bring. But look at your life. You have already survived days you thought would break you. You have already moved through moments you did not understand. You have already healed from pain that once felt impossible. You have already continued after disappointment. So why do you keep treating yourself like you are weak? You are not weak. You are simply tired from letting fear lead you for too long. When you stop letting fear control life, you begin to feel lighter. You no longer need every answer immediately. You no longer need every person to reassure you. You no longer need every plan to go perfectly. You no longer need the future to look completely safe before you take one step. You begin to understand that life can be uncertain, and you can still be peaceful. This is a very deep happiness. It is not loud happiness. It is not the happiness that comes only when everything goes your way. It is quiet happiness. It is the happiness of a person who has stopped fighting every unknown. It is the happiness of someone who can breathe even when life is not fully clear. It is the happiness of someone who understands that peace is not found in controlling the movement of life, but in relaxing the fear inside the mind. Many people never experience this because they keep waiting for life to become completely safe. But life will never be completely safe in the way the fearful mind wants. There will always be some uncertainty. There will always be some change. There will always be something you cannot predict. If you wait for perfect certainty before you feel calm, you may wait your whole life. So you must practice peace now. In this uncertain moment, in this unfinished chapter, in this imperfect season. You must teach your mind that it can rest even without knowing everything. You must teach your body that it can breathe even before the final answer arrives. You must teach your heart that it does not need to grip life so tightly to survive. Start with small moments. When a plan changes, do not immediately panic. Breathe and say, "Life is moving. I can adjust." When someone does not respond the way you expected, do not immediately create a painful story. Breathe and say, "I do not need to control their reaction." When the future feels unclear, do not punish yourself with endless thinking. Breathe and say, "I only need to take the next step." When fear says everything will go wrong, breathe and say, "This is fear speaking, not truth." This practice may seem simple, but it changes the way you live. Each time you choose awareness over fear, you become freer. Each time you choose patience over panic, you become stronger. Each time you choose trust over control, you become calmer. And slowly, fear loses its place as the leader of your life. Buddhism teaches that the mind can be trained. Your mind may be used to fear, but it can learn peace. Your mind may be used to control, but it can learn trust. Your mind may be used to resisting life, but it can learn acceptance. This training does not happen in one day. It happens every time life gives you a moment where fear wants to take over, and you choose to breathe instead of obeying it. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to return to awareness again and again. Some days fear will still be loud. Some days uncertainty will still feel uncomfortable. Some days your mind will still want to control everything. That is okay. The path is not about never feeling fear. The path is about no longer letting fear become your master. You can feel fear and still choose wisdom. You can feel uncertainty and still choose patience. You can feel discomfort and still choose peace. This is how you allow life to move. You stop grabbing every moment with tension. You stop demanding that every person behave according to your fear. You stop trying to control the future before it arrives. You stop making yourself suffer over things that are still unfolding. You learn to stand still inside yourself even while life keeps changing outside of you. And then something beautiful happens. Life no longer feels like a constant battle. You begin to notice small peace again. You enjoy quiet moments without filling them with worry. You trust silence instead of fearing it. You allow people to reveal themselves instead of forcing answers from them. You let time do what your anxiety cannot do. You stop seeing every unknown as a threat. The less fear controls you, the more life opens. Not because every problem disappears, but because your mind stops creating more problems around every situation. You become easier to yourself. You stop tightening around every change. You stop holding your breath through life. You begin to live with more softness, more trust, and more inner space. This is what it means to let go and let life handle all your problems. It means you stop trying to control everything from fear. You stop acting as if your worry is what keeps the world together. You stop believing that panic is proof that you care. You do your part, then you release the rest. You allow life to unfold. You allow time to reveal. You allow people to show who they are. You allow answers to arrive naturally. You allow your own heart to rest. So today, ask yourself, where is fear controlling my life? What am I trying to force because I am afraid? What am I resisting because I do not trust life? What would happen if I took one deep breath and allowed this moment to be what it is? You may not be able to release everything at once, but you can release one breath at a time, one thought at a time, one fear at a time, one moment at a time. Let life move, let people be, let time work. Let the truth reveal itself. Let fear speak, but do not let it rule. Let uncertainty exist, but do not let it destroy your peace. Let the future come when it comes, and meet it with the strength you are building now. Because the more you stop controlling life through fear, the more life becomes peaceful again. The more you allow life to move, the more your soul learns to breathe. And the more your soul breathes, the happier you become. 13. Stop making every problem bigger than it is. One reason life feels so heavy is because the mind has a habit of making problems bigger than they really are. A small mistake becomes a disaster. One difficult day becomes a terrible life. One person's silence becomes proof that you are unwanted. One delay becomes a sign that your future is ruined. The problem may begin as something small, but the mind keeps adding fear, imagination, memory, and overthinking until the problem feels impossible to carry. Buddhism teaches that suffering often grows because of the story we create around what happens. The event itself may be painful, but the mind adds extra pain by saying, "This will never change. I cannot handle this. Everything is going wrong. My life is falling apart." These thoughts may feel real in the moment, but they are not always truth. They are often fear speaking loudly inside the mind. When you learn to look at life clearly, you begin to see that many problems are not as big as your mind makes them. Some problems need action, but they do not need panic. Some problems need patience, but they do not need fear. Some problems need time, but they do not need endless overthinking. The mind wants to turn every discomfort into an emergency, but wisdom teaches you to pause before believing the story. For example, if someone does not reply to your message, the mind may immediately begin creating pain. It may say, "They do not care about me. They are ignoring me. They are losing interest. I did something wrong." But maybe they are busy. Maybe they are tired. Maybe they are dealing with their own life. Maybe there is no deep meaning at all. Yet before reality becomes clear, the mind already creates suffering. This is how many people lose peace. They are not only reacting to what happened, they are reacting to what they think it means. They suffer from imagination as much as they suffer from reality. Buddhism teaches awareness so you can separate the real problem from the story your mind is building around it. A wise person does not immediately believe the first thought that appears. They pause. They breathe. They ask, "Is this truly happening, or is my mind making it bigger?" This question brings you back to clarity. It helps you stop feeding fear before you understand the truth. Many problems become bigger because you keep repeating them in your mind. You think about the same situation in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, and before sleeping. Each time you repeat it, your emotions become stronger. The event may have lasted 5 minutes, but your mind keeps it alive for 5 days, 5 months, or even 5 years. This is why the problem feels so heavy. You are not carrying it once. You are carrying it again and again. Buddhism teaches that the mind must be trained to return to the present moment. If something happened, learn from it. If action is needed, take action. If nothing can be done right now, release it for the moment. Do not keep touching the wound every hour and then wonder why it is not healing. Some pain needs space. Some confusion needs time. Some problems need your calmness more than your panic. When you make every problem bigger than it is, you teach your nervous system to live in fear. Your body begins to feel unsafe even when nothing dangerous is happening. Your heart becomes tense. Your thoughts become fast. Your emotions become unstable. You begin to expect disaster from every small change. This is not peace. This is mental exhaustion. The Buddhist path teaches you to slow down. Before you react, breathe. Before you assume, observe. Before you panic, look clearly. Before you call something the end of your life, remember that you have survived difficult moments before. Many things that once felt unbearable are now only memories. Many problems that once looked permanent eventually changed. Many fears that once controlled you never even happened. This does not mean your problems are not real. It means your mind does not need to make them larger than life. A problem can be real without becoming your whole identity. A painful moment can hurt without becoming your entire future. A mistake can teach you without defining you forever. A delay can frustrate you without proving that you are failing. You must learn to give every problem the right size, not smaller than it is and not bigger than it is. If something needs attention, give it attention. If something needs a decision, make the decision. If something needs healing, allow healing. But do not turn one problem into the center of your entire existence. Do not allow one painful moment to color every part of your life. Many people live like this without realizing it. One bad conversation ruins their whole day. One criticism destroys their confidence. One rejection makes them question their worth. One failure makes them believe they are useless. But Buddhism teaches that your peace should not be so easily controlled by one passing event. Life is bigger than one moment. You are bigger than one mistake. Your future is bigger than one delay. When you stop making problems bigger than they are, you become emotionally stronger. You stop reacting to everything as if it is a crisis. You become calmer, more patient, and more stable. You begin to understand that not every storm needs fear. Some storms only need time. Not every uncomfortable emotion needs action. Some emotions only need to be observed until they pass. A calm mind does not ignore problems. It simply refuses to add unnecessary suffering to them. It says this is difficult, but I do not need to make it worse with fear. It says this hurts, but I do not need to build my whole identity around this pain. It says this is uncertain, but I do not need to imagine every possible disaster. This is the difference between pain and suffering. Pain may come from life. Suffering often comes from the mind's resistance, exaggeration, and attachment. Pain says, something difficult happened. Suffering says, this means everything is ruined. Pain says, this moment hurts. Suffering says, I will never be happy again. Pain is part of life. Suffering grows when the mind turns pain into a permanent story. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent. This means no problem stays exactly the same forever. Your emotions change, your thoughts change, your situation changes, your understanding changes. Even when life feels stuck, something is moving beneath the surface. The mind forgets this when it is afraid. Fear makes everything look permanent. It tells you, this will never end. But life is always changing, even when change is slow. When you remember impermanence, you stop treating temporary problems like permanent prisons. You stop saying, my life is over, when only one chapter is painful. You stop saying, nothing will ever change, when life has always been changing. You stop saying, I cannot survive this, when you have already survived so much. This awareness brings peace, because it reminds you that your current feeling is not your final destination. Anxiety will pass, sadness will shift, confusion will clear, fear will soften, pain will teach, life will move. But if you keep feeding the problem with fear, you may suffer longer than necessary. One way to stop making problems bigger is to return to simple truth. Ask yourself, what do I actually know? Not what you fear, not what you imagine, not what your insecurity says. What do you actually know? This question removes many false stories. You may realize that you do not know someone's intention. You do not know that the future will fail. You do not know that one delay means rejection. You do not know that one mistake has ruined everything. Then ask yourself, what can I do right now? This question brings your power back. Maybe you can take one small action. Maybe you can apologize. Maybe you can rest. Maybe you can wait. Maybe you can stop checking, stop chasing, stop forcing, or stop repeating the same thought. Peace often returns when you focus on the next wise step instead of the whole imagined disaster. Many people lose peace because they try to solve their entire life at once. They sit at night and think about every problem, every fear, every regret, every future possibility, and every painful memory. Then they wonder why their mind feels heavy. No person can carry their whole life in one night. Buddhism teaches you to return to one breath, one step, one moment. You do not need to fix everything right now. You only need to meet this moment with awareness. When a problem appears, give yourself permission to slow down. You do not need to react immediately. You do not need to answer every fear immediately. You do not need to make a permanent decision from a temporary emotion. Some of the worst decisions are made when the mind is overwhelmed. Wait until your mind becomes clear. Let the emotional storm pass before you decide your whole future. This is especially important when you are angry, afraid, or hurt. In those moments, the mind becomes dramatic. It wants to speak harshly, leave quickly, chase desperately, or assume the worst. But Buddhism teaches that a disturbed mind cannot see clearly. When the water is muddy, you do not stir it more. You let it settle. In the same way, when the mind is disturbed, you do not add more thoughts, more panic, and more reaction. You breathe and allow stillness to return. Sometimes the problem is not asking you to do more. It is asking you to become still. It is asking you to stop feeding the fire. It is asking you to stop making a small flame into a forest fire inside your mind. Stillness helps you see what is actually happening. Stillness helps you respond from wisdom instead of fear. Another reason people make problems bigger is because they attach their identity to them. If they fail, they think, I am a failure. If someone leaves, they think, I am unlovable. If they feel anxious, they think, I am weak. But Buddhism teaches that you are not your passing experiences. You are not one failure. You are not one rejection. You are not one emotion. You are not one painful chapter. A cloud can pass through the sky, but the sky does not become the cloud. In the same way, sadness can pass through you, but you are not sadness. Fear can pass through you, but you are not fear. A mistake can happen in your life, but you are not the mistake. When you understand this, problems lose their power to define you. You begin to say, this is a problem I am facing, not who I am. You say, this is a feeling moving through me, not my permanent truth. You say, this is a difficult moment, not the whole story of my life. These simple statements create distance between you and the problem. That distance gives you freedom. Buddhism teaches that awareness is the beginning of freedom. When you are unaware, every problem pulls you into it completely. You become the fear, you become the anger, you become the pain. But when you are aware, you can step back and observe. You can see the problem without drowning inside it. You can feel the emotion without letting it control your actions. This is how happiness becomes possible, even when life is not perfect. Happiness does not come from having no problems. It comes from not turning every problem into a prison. It comes from knowing that you can face life without losing yourself. It comes from understanding that peace is not the absence of difficulty. Peace is the ability to remain centered while difficulty passes through. So the next time your mind begins to make a problem bigger, pause. Do not immediately believe the fear. Do not feed the story. Do not repeat the pain again and again. Breathe and look clearly. Ask what is real. Ask what is imagined. Ask what you can do now. Ask what needs to be released. Tell yourself, this is only one moment. This is not my whole life. Tell yourself, this problem may be difficult, but I do not need to make it heavier with overthinking. Tell yourself, I can meet this calmly. I can take one step. I can let time reveal what I cannot see today. This is how you stop resisting life. You stop fighting every moment with fear. You stop turning every unknown into danger. You stop making every small problem a mountain. You stop letting your mind create suffering beyond what life has actually given you. Life becomes lighter when you stop exaggerating your pain through thought. Your heart becomes calmer when you stop believing every worst-case story. Your peace returns when you stop treating temporary discomfort like permanent destruction. Let the problem be what it is. Not more, not less. Face it with awareness. Handle what you can. Release what you cannot. And remember that a peaceful mind can make even difficult life easier to carry. 14. Let time reveal what your mind cannot understand today. Sometimes life becomes painful because the mind wants answers too quickly. It wants to understand everything right now. It wants to know why something happened, why someone changed, why a plan failed, why a door closed, or why life suddenly moved in a direction you did not expect. But not every answer comes when you demand it. Some answers only appear after time has passed. Some truths only become clear when your emotions become calm. Some situations only make sense when you stop forcing your mind to understand everything immediately. Buddhism teaches patience, because life does not always reveal its wisdom at the beginning of a situation. When you are inside the pain, you can only see the confusion. You can only feel the disappointment. You can only notice what you lost, what changed, and what did not happen the way you wanted. But time has a way of showing you things that panic cannot show you. What looks like rejection today may become protection later. What feels like a delay today may become preparation later. What feels like loss today may become the space your life needed for something better to enter. The problem is that the anxious mind hates waiting. It wants certainty immediately. It wants closure immediately. It wants proof immediately. It wants every person to explain themselves, every situation to make sense, and every future outcome to be guaranteed. But life does not always move according to your fear. Sometimes life stays silent because the answer is still unfolding. Sometimes life does not explain because you are not ready to see the full lesson yet. Many people suffer because they try to force clarity before the right time. They overthink every detail. They replay every conversation. They search for hidden meanings. They imagine every possible reason. They ask themselves the same questions again and again until their mind becomes exhausted. But overthinking does not always create clarity. Sometimes it creates more confusion. Sometimes the more you force an answer, the more disturbed your mind becomes. A calm mind understands that not knowing is also part of life. You do not need to know everything today. You do not need to understand every painful event immediately. You do not need to see the whole path before taking the next step. Sometimes your work is not to figure everything out. Sometimes your work is simply to breathe, stay present, and allow time to reveal what your mind cannot understand yet. This does not mean you ignore life. It does not mean you become careless. It means you stop torturing yourself for answers that are not ready to arrive. You still act wisely. You still take responsibility. You still do what is in your control. But after that, you allow life to unfold. You stop digging up the seed every day to check if it is growing. You stop trying to open a flower before it's time. You stop demanding that life give you the final chapter while you are still standing in the middle of the story. There are many moments in life that only make sense later. Maybe someone walked away, and at first it felt like abandonment. But later, you realized their absence gave you peace. Maybe you failed at something you deeply wanted, and at first it felt like your life was falling apart. But later, that failure pushed you toward a better direction. Maybe you waited longer than you wanted, and at first it felt unfair. But later, you saw that the waiting season made you stronger, wiser, and more prepared. This is why you should not judge your whole life from one painful moment. A single chapter cannot explain the entire book. A single disappointment cannot define your future. A single delay does not mean life has forgotten you. When you judge too early, you often create suffering from a story that is not complete yet. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes. Your emotions change. Your understanding changes. Your situation changes. Your view of life changes. What feels unbearable today may feel lighter tomorrow. What feels confusing today may become clear with time. What feels like an ending today may become the beginning of a better path. But if you resist the process, you suffer more than necessary. Sometimes you do not need another explanation. You need patience. Sometimes you do not need another conversation. You need silence. Sometimes you do not need to force the answer. You need to let the dust settle. When emotions are high, the mind cannot see clearly. It turns small details into big fears. It turns uncertainty into danger. It turns silence into rejection. It turns waiting into failure. A disturbed mind will always create disturbed meanings. This is why Buddhism teaches stillness. When the water is moving violently, you cannot see your reflection. But when the water becomes still, everything becomes clearer. Your mind works the same way. When it is full of fear, anger, sadness, and resistance, you cannot see life clearly. But when you allow yourself to become still, truth begins to appear naturally. Let time reveal what your emotions are hiding from you right now. Let time show you who is real. Let time show you what was meant to stay and what was meant to leave. Let time show you which doors were closed for your protection. Let time show you which delays were building your patience. Let time show you which losses were actually creating space for your healing. Many people are afraid of waiting because waiting makes them feel powerless. But waiting is not always weakness. Sometimes waiting is wisdom. Sometimes not reacting is the strongest response. Sometimes silence protects your peace better than explanation. Sometimes patience saves you from making a decision out of fear. Sometimes time gives you the truth without you needing to chase it. When you rush from fear, you often create more suffering. You send the message too quickly. You make the decision too emotionally. You chase the person who needed to be released. You force the door that was supposed to stay closed. You speak from pain instead of wisdom. But when you pause, breathe, and allow time to work, you give yourself the chance to respond from a calmer place. This is one of the greatest lessons in Buddhism. Do not let temporary emotions create permanent damage. A moment of anger can destroy something valuable. A moment of fear can make you accept less than you deserve. A moment of loneliness can pull you back towards something that already hurt you. A moment of impatience can make you give up on something that only needed more time. So before you react, give life space. Before you assume the worst, give time a chance. Before you call something a failure, wait and observe. Before you believe that one painful moment has ruined everything, remember that life is still moving. The story is not finished yet. Time reveals character. Some people look good in the beginning, but time shows their true nature. Some people make promises, but time shows whether their actions are real. Some people disappear when life becomes difficult, and time shows you that their presence was never stable. This is why you do not need to force every truth to appear immediately. Life will reveal people if you stop chasing illusions. Time also reveals your own strength. In the beginning of a painful moment, you may think you cannot survive it. You may think the sadness will never pass. You may think the confusion will never end. But slowly, day by day, you begin to breathe again. You begin to think clearly again. You begin to smile again. You begin to realize that the pain did not destroy you. It changed you, but it did not end you. This is why you must not trust the mind when it says, "I will always feel this way." That is fear speaking. Feelings are temporary. A painful season is not your whole life. A heavy day is not your final destination. The heart can heal. The mind can become calm. Life can open again. But healing needs time, and you must stop demanding that your soul become peaceful overnight. Buddhism teaches that everything grows according to conditions. A seed needs soil, water, sunlight, and time. You cannot shout at it and make it become a tree. You cannot force it to bloom before its season. Human healing is the same. Wisdom needs time. Strength needs time. Peace needs time. Understanding needs time. If you rush your healing, you only create more pressure inside yourself. Many people make themselves suffer because they compare their timing to others. They see someone else succeeding, healing, loving, moving forward, or becoming stable, and they think, "Why is my life not moving like that?" But your path is not their path. Your timing is not their timing. Your lessons are not their lessons. Buddhism teaches that comparison pulls you away from your own present moment. It makes you reject your life because it does not look like someone else's life. Let time work in your life without comparing it to anyone else. Maybe your season is slower because it is deeper. Maybe your growth is hidden because it is happening inside. Maybe your path looks delayed because life is preparing you in ways you cannot see yet. Not every progress is visible. Not every blessing arrives loudly. Not every transformation can be measured from the outside. Sometimes the most important changes happen quietly. You stop reacting as quickly. You stop chasing people who disturb your peace. You stop believing every fearful thought. You stop needing every answer immediately. You stop forcing what no longer feels right. These changes may not look dramatic to the world, but they are powerful. They are signs that time is teaching you wisdom. When you allow time to reveal life, you become less desperate. You stop begging for immediate certainty. You stop forcing people to prove themselves quickly. You stop trying to control every result. You become calm enough to watch what life is showing you. And when you watch patiently, truth becomes clearer. The truth does not always need your panic. The truth does not always need your chasing. The truth does not always need your argument. Sometimes the truth only needs time. People reveal themselves through repeated actions. Situations reveal themselves through patterns. Your own heart reveals itself when the noise becomes quiet. Life reveals its direction when you stop running in circles from fear. So if you are confused today, do not punish yourself. If you do not understand why something happened, do not force your mind to solve it tonight. If your heart is heavy, do not demand instant peace. Breathe and give yourself time. Tell yourself, "I do not understand this yet, but I do not need to destroy my peace while life is still unfolding." This one sentence can calm your mind, because it reminds you that not knowing is not failure. Waiting is not failure. Healing slowly is not failure. Changing direction is not failure. Being in an uncertain season does not mean your life is broken. It means you are human, and life is still moving. When you let time reveal what your mind cannot understand today, you stop fighting the unknown. You stop demanding that every situation explain itself before you can breathe. You stop treating uncertainty like an enemy. You learn to sit with unanswered questions without letting them control your entire life. This is real inner strength. Anyone can feel calm when everything is clear, but the wise person learns to remain steady even when life is not fully clear. They do not need every answer before they take the next step. They do not need every result before they trust themselves. They do not need every person to explain themselves before they protect their peace. You can live this way too. You can choose patience over panic. You can choose awareness over overthinking. You can choose trust over fear. You can choose to let life unfold instead of forcing every answer to appear immediately. So let time reveal what your mind cannot understand today. Let the truth rise naturally. Let people show who they are. Let closed doors stay closed until you understand why they closed. Let healing happen slowly. Let your life breathe. Let your heart rest from needing to know everything right now. You do your part. You stay present. You act with wisdom. You protect your peace. And then you release the rest to time, because sometimes time explains what pain could not. Time reveals what fear could not. Time heals what force could not. And one day you may look back at this confusing season and realize that life was not punishing you. It was quietly guiding you toward a deeper peace, a stronger mind, and a path you could not yet see. 15. Let go of the life you thought should happen. One of the deepest reasons people suffer is because they become attached to the life they imagined. They create a picture in their mind of how everything should happen. They imagine when success should arrive, how people should treat them, how relationships should last, how their future should look, and how their life should unfold. But when reality does not match that picture, the mind becomes angry, disappointed, and restless. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering, and sometimes the strongest attachment is not only to a person or a thing. Sometimes it is attachment to an imagined version of life. You suffer because you are not only living your real life, you are also comparing it to the life you thought you should have by now. You compare your current season to your expectations, and because reality looks different, you feel like something is wrong. But life does not always follow the plan you created in your mind. Sometimes the relationship you thought would last ends. Sometimes the opportunity you wanted does not come. Sometimes the success you expected takes longer. Sometimes the person you trusted changes. Sometimes the version of life you imagined slowly disappears, and you are forced to face the life that is actually in front of you. This is painful because the mind loves control. The mind says, "My life should have happened this way. I should have been further by now. This person should have stayed. That door should have opened. This pain should not have happened." But the more you argue with what did not happen, the more you miss what is happening now. You keep standing in front of a closed door, crying over the life you imagined, while life may be quietly opening another path behind you. Letting go of the life you thought should happen does not mean giving up on your dreams. It does not mean you stop growing, stop trying, or stop believing in a better future. It means you stop mentally punishing yourself because your real life does not match your old expectations. It means you release the idea that life must happen only one way for you to be happy. It means you stop forcing your peace to depend on a picture that may no longer belong to you. Many people are not suffering from their present moment as much as they are suffering from comparison with an imagined life. They think about where they should be, what they should have, who should still be with them, and what should have worked out. Their mind keeps repeating, "This is not how it was supposed to be," and because of that, they cannot accept where they are. But Buddhism teaches that peace begins with seeing clearly. You cannot heal a life you refuse to see. You cannot move forward from a reality you keep denying. You cannot build peace while constantly wishing your path looked different. The first step is to gently admit, "This is where I am right now." Not with hatred, not with shame, not with defeat, but with honesty. Honesty brings you back to the present moment, and the present moment is the only place where change can begin. You cannot change yesterday. You cannot live inside the future you imagined. You can only take the next step from where your feet are standing now. This is why acceptance is powerful. It stops you from wasting energy fighting reality, and it gives you strength to respond wisely. Sometimes the life you thought should happen was based on who you used to be. It was built from old desires, old fears, old attachments, and old versions of yourself. But you are not the same person forever. You grow. You change. You learn. Your heart becomes wiser. Your values become clearer. What you once wanted may not be what your soul needs now. There may be things you prayed for in the past that would not bring you peace today. There may be people you begged to keep who would have kept you stuck. There may be doors you cried over that were closed for your protection. There may be delays that saved you from rushing into something you were not ready for. But when you are attached to one imagined life, you cannot see this. You only see what did not happen. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes, including your path. Life is not a straight road. It moves, bends, breaks, and rebuilds. Sometimes it removes what you thought you needed, so you can discover what truly belongs to your peace. Sometimes it interrupts your plan because the plan was too small for the person you are becoming. Sometimes it takes you through discomfort because comfort was keeping you asleep. This does not mean every painful event is easy to accept. Some losses hurt deeply. Some disappointments shake your heart. Some endings make you question everything. It is natural to grieve the life you thought you would have. You are allowed to feel sadness. You are allowed to feel confused. You are allowed to feel the pain of what did not happen. Buddhism does not ask you to pretend you are unaffected. It asks you to observe your pain without becoming trapped inside it forever. You can grieve and still let go. You can feel the disappointment and still move forward. You can admit that something hurt and still stop carrying it as your identity. Letting go is not about denying your emotions. It is about not allowing those emotions to control the rest of your life. Many people remain stuck because they keep trying to return to a chapter that has already ended. They keep trying to bring back old people, old plans, old versions of themselves, or old dreams that no longer fit who they are becoming. But peace requires courage. Sometimes you must accept that the life you imagined is not the life unfolding in front of you. And instead of fighting that truth forever, you must ask, what can I build from here? This question is powerful because it brings your energy back. Instead of asking, why did this happen? Forever you begin asking, what is possible now? Instead of looking only at what you lost, you begin noticing what can still grow. Instead of mourning the closed road forever, you begin walking the road that is actually open. The mind may resist this because it loves certainty. It wants the old plan because the old plan feels familiar. Even if it hurts, it feels known. But growth often asks you to walk into the unknown. It asks you to stop clinging to what was supposed to happen and trust that life can still become meaningful in a way you did not expect. Think about nature. A tree does not resist the seasons. It does not hold on to old leaves forever, because it fears emptiness. It releases what must fall, stands through the quiet season, and allows new growth to come when the time is right. Human life is the same. Some things must fall away. Some seasons must end. Some dreams must change shape. Some plans must be released so new life can enter. If the tree refused to let go of its old leaves, it would block its own renewal. In the same way, if you refuse to let go of the life you thought should happen, you may block the life that is trying to happen now. This is why letting go is not failure. It is renewal. It is making space. It is allowing your life to breathe again. It is saying, maybe my path is different from what I expected, but different does not mean meaningless. Different does not mean broken. Different does not mean hopeless. Many people think happiness can only exist if life follows their original plan. But happiness is often found in unexpected places. A new path, a new version of yourself, a new understanding, a quieter life, a deeper peace, a different kind of success, a stronger relationship with yourself. Sometimes what you receive after letting go is not what you originally wanted, but it is exactly what your soul needed. Buddhism teaches that clinging keeps suffering alive. When you cling to an old dream, you suffer every time reality reminds you it has changed. When you cling to a person who left, you suffer every time you remember they are gone. When you cling to a timeline, you suffer every time life moves slower than your expectation. When you cling to the idea that your life should look a certain way, you suffer every time your path looks different. But when you loosen your grip, something softens inside you. You stop fighting every difference between imagination and reality. You stop treating your current life as a mistake. You begin to see that maybe this moment is not punishment. Maybe it is preparation. Maybe it is redirection. Maybe it is asking you to stop living inside a story that no longer belongs to you. Letting go of the life you thought should happen also means forgiving yourself. You may feel like you wasted time. You may feel like you made wrong choices. You may feel like you should have known better. But endless self-blame will not rebuild your life. It will only keep you stuck in regret. Buddhism teaches compassion, and compassion must also include yourself. You made choices based on what you knew at the time. You loved with the heart you had. You trusted with the understanding you had. You stayed because you were learning. You left when you became ready. You failed because you were trying. You changed because life taught you. You do not need to punish yourself forever for being human. Forgive the version of you who did not know what you know now. Forgive the version of you who held on too long. Forgive the version of you who feared change. Forgive the version of you who believed life had to happen one exact way. That version was not weak. That version was learning. When you forgive yourself, you create space for a new life to begin. Not a perfect life, but a real life. A life built with more awareness. A life where you no longer chase what destroys your peace. A life where you no longer force closed doors. A life where you understand that your value is not measured by whether everything happened according to plan. You are still allowed to begin again. Even if your path changed, even if something ended, even if you are older than you expected, even if you feel behind, even if your life looks nothing like the picture you once had, the present moment is still open. Your breath is still here. Your next step is still possible. Buddhism teaches that every moment is a chance to wake up. You do not need to wait for life to become perfect before you return to peace. You do not need to fix your entire life before you take one meaningful step. You do not need to understand the whole path before you move forward. You only need enough courage to stop clinging to what cannot come with you. Ask yourself honestly, what version of life am I still trying to force? What expectation is making me suffer? What old dream, old person, old timeline, or old identity am I afraid to release? What if life is not ending, but changing direction? What if the path I resisted is the path that will teach me peace? These questions may not give immediate answers, but they open your mind. They help you see where suffering is being created by attachment. They help you notice that maybe life is not only hurting you. Maybe it is asking you to loosen your grip. Maybe it is asking you to stop worshipping the plan and start trusting the process. This does not mean every new path will be easy. It may still feel uncertain. It may still feel lonely. It may still require courage. But uncertainty does not mean you are lost. Sometimes uncertainty means life is no longer repeating the old pattern. Sometimes it means something new is forming. Sometimes it means you are being invited into a life you could not imagine before because your old mind was too attached to one picture. A peaceful person is not someone whose life always goes according to plan. A peaceful person is someone who can adapt when life changes. They can grieve without becoming bitter. They can let go without losing themselves. They can move forward without needing every answer. They can say, "This is not what I expected, but I will meet it with awareness." That is strength. That is wisdom. That is freedom. So stop fighting the life that is in front of you because it does not look like the life you imagined. Stop comparing your real path to a picture created by fear, desire, or old expectations. Stop believing that different means wrong. Stop telling yourself that your life is ruined because one plan did not happen. Maybe life is not asking you to control harder. Maybe life is asking you to listen deeper. Maybe it is asking you to release what no longer fits. Maybe it is asking you to build from where you are, not from where you thought you would be. Maybe peace is waiting for you on the other side of the plan you are afraid to let go. Let go of the life you thought should happen. Not because your dreams do not matter, but because your peace matters too. Let go of the timeline that makes you feel behind. Let go of the comparison that makes you reject your own journey. Let go of the old story that says happiness can only arrive one way. Let go of the belief that your life must match your imagination before it can be beautiful. Your life can still become meaningful from here. Your path can still open from here. Your peace can still return from here. You can still grow, heal, change, and begin again from here. And maybe, one day, you will look back and realize that the life you lost was not the end of your story. It was the doorway to a deeper, wiser, more peaceful version of yourself. 16. Stop trying to force peace. Let peace come naturally. Many people want peace, but they try to force peace with the same restless mind that created their suffering. They say, "I must be calm right now. I must stop thinking right now. I must feel better right now. I must heal quickly. I must remove this pain immediately." But the more they try to force peace, the more pressure they create inside themselves. And when peace does not come quickly, they become frustrated, disappointed, and even more anxious. Buddhism teaches that peace cannot be forced. Peace grows when the mind stops fighting. Peace appears when you stop attacking your own emotions. Peace comes when you stop demanding that every uncomfortable feeling disappear immediately. A calm mind is not created by pressure. A calm mind is created by patience, awareness, and gentle acceptance. Many people suffer because they believe something is wrong with them when they do not feel peaceful. They think, "Why am I still anxious? Why am I still sad? Why am I still hurt? Why can't I just let go?" But healing does not happen through self-judgment. You cannot shame yourself into peace. You cannot hate your mind into silence. You cannot punish your heart into healing. If you are sad, let yourself be sad without making it your whole identity. If you are anxious, notice the anxiety without believing it must control you. If you are hurt, allow yourself to feel the wound without reopening it again and again with overthinking. The goal is not to force every emotion away. The goal is to observe every emotion with kindness until it slowly loses its power. Buddhism teaches that emotions are like waves. They rise, they move, and they fall. But when you resist the wave, you struggle against it and become exhausted. When you allow the wave to pass, you remain steady beneath it. This does not mean the wave feels comfortable. It simply means you stop making it stronger by fighting it. Sometimes the reason peace does not come is because you are trying too hard to control your inner world. You are watching your thoughts with fear. You are checking your emotions every minute. You are asking, am I better now? Am I calm now? Did I heal yet? This constant checking keeps the mind trapped in the problem. It is like touching a wound every hour and wondering why it still hurts. Peace needs space. Healing needs space. Your heart needs space to breathe. When you keep forcing yourself to be okay, you do not give yourself that space. You treat your pain like an enemy instead of something that needs understanding. A wise person does not say, I must be peaceful immediately. A wise person says, this moment is difficult, but I can meet it gently. They do not force the mind to become silent. They allow the mind to settle naturally. They do not demand instant healing. They give healing the time it needs. They do not make pain worse by adding guilt, shame, and pressure on top of it. This is very important because many people turn spirituality into another form of control. They learn about peace, detachment, mindfulness, and letting go, but then they use these teachings to judge themselves. They say, I should not feel angry. I should not feel attached. I should not feel afraid. I should be above this. But Buddhism does not teach you to pretend you are not human. It teaches you to become aware of your human experience without being controlled by it. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to have difficult days. You are allowed to need time. You are allowed to be in the process of healing. Peace does not mean you never feel pain. Peace means pain no longer becomes the ruler of your whole life. When you stop forcing peace, you begin to understand that calmness is not something you chase. It is something you return to. It is already beneath the noise of your mind. It is already beneath the fear, the anger, the sadness, and the overthinking. But when you keep chasing peace with desperation, you create more noise. When you stop chasing and simply become present, peace slowly rises on its own. Think of muddy water. If you shake the water, it becomes cloudy. If you keep touching it, moving it, and trying to force it to clear, it stays disturbed. But if you leave it still, the mud slowly settles, and the water becomes clear naturally. Your mind is the same. When you keep forcing it, fighting it, and demanding silence, it becomes more disturbed. But when you sit with it patiently, it begins to settle. This is why stillness matters. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is allowing the mind to stop fighting itself. Stillness is giving your emotions permission to move without panic. Stillness is sitting with what is here without immediately trying to escape it. In that stillness, the mind slowly becomes less tight. The heart slowly becomes less afraid. The body slowly remembers how to breathe. Many people think peace will come when every problem is solved. But if you wait for that, you may wait forever. Life will always have something unfinished. There will always be some uncertainty, some responsibility, some memory, some desire, some fear, or some question without an answer. If your peace depends on everything being complete, then your peace will always be delayed. Buddhism teaches that peace is possible even in an unfinished life. You can be healing and still have peace. You can be uncertain and still have peace. You can be waiting and still have peace. You can be going through a difficult season and still touch moments of calm. Peace does not require life to be perfect. Peace requires the mind to stop fighting life as it is. This does not mean you will feel peaceful all the time. No one does. Some days your thoughts will be loud. Some days your heart will feel heavy. Some days your old fears will return. Some days you will feel like you are moving backward. But this does not mean you are failing. It means you are human. Healing is not a straight line. Inner peace grows slowly through many small moments of returning. Every time you notice your mind overthinking and gently come back to your breath, you are practicing peace. Every time fear rises and you choose not to obey it immediately, you are practicing peace. Every time anger appears and you pause before reacting, you are practicing peace. Every time sadness comes and you allow yourself to feel it without becoming hopeless, you are practicing peace. Peace is built through practice, not pressure. You do not need to defeat your mind. You need to understand it. You do not need to destroy your emotions. You need to observe them. You do not need to force yourself to feel nothing. You need to stop being controlled by everything you feel. This is where many people misunderstand letting go. They think letting go means they must instantly stop caring. But letting go is not emotional numbness. Letting go is not pretending something did not matter. Letting go is allowing something to exist without letting it dominate your entire inner world. You can care and still release control. You can remember and still move forward. You can feel pain and still choose peace. Sometimes peace comes when you stop asking, "How do I remove this feeling?" and start asking, "Can I make space for this feeling without becoming it?" This is a gentle question. It does not fight the emotion. It does not run from the emotion. It simply creates awareness, and awareness gives you freedom. For example, when anxiety appears, instead of saying, "I hate this, I need this to disappear," you can say, "Anxiety is here right now. I can breathe with it. I do not need to follow every thought it creates." When sadness appears, instead of saying, "I should not feel this," you can say, "Sadness is here. It is painful, but it will pass." When anger appears, instead of acting from it immediately, you can say, "Anger is rising. I will wait before I speak." This simple practice changes your relationship with your mind. You stop being a slave to every feeling. You stop turning every emotion into an emergency. You stop believing that discomfort means something is wrong. You learn that emotions can pass through you without becoming your whole life. The more you allow emotions to pass, the less afraid you become of feeling them, and the less afraid you become, the more peaceful you become. Because much of suffering comes not from emotions themselves, but from the fear of emotions. People fear sadness, so they run from it. They fear loneliness, so they chase unhealthy connections. They fear uncertainty, so they control everything. They fear pain, so they resist life. But when you learn to sit with emotion, you discover that you are stronger than the feeling. You can feel lonely without returning to people who disturb your peace. You can feel afraid without giving up on your path. You can feel hurt without becoming bitter. You can feel uncertain without forcing life to answer immediately. You can feel sadness without losing hope. This is inner strength. Buddhism teaches the middle way. This means you do not suppress your emotions, and you do not become lost in them. You do not deny pain, and you do not build your whole identity around pain. You do not force peace, and you do not surrender to chaos. You observe, breathe, understand, and return to balance. Balance is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is the ability to say, "This is hard, but I do not need to make it harder." It is the ability to say, "I feel pain, but I will not add self-hatred to it." It is the ability to say, "My mind is loud today, but I can still be gentle with myself." Many people are cruel to themselves when they are suffering. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to someone they love. They say, "You are weak. You should be over this. Why are you like this? Why can't you control your mind?" But this inner cruelty does not create peace. It creates more fear. It makes the mind feel unsafe inside itself. You must become a safer place for yourself. Your own mind should not be a battlefield every day. Your heart should not be attacked by your own thoughts. If life is already difficult, do not make it worse by being harsh with yourself. Speak to yourself with patience. Treat your healing like something sacred. Give your inner world the same kindness you would give to someone you deeply care about. This kindness is not weakness. It is wisdom. A gentle mind heals faster than a mind that is constantly being punished. A heart that is allowed to feel becomes lighter than a heart that is forced to hide everything. A person who gives themselves patience becomes stronger than a person who lives under constant self-pressure. When you stop forcing peace, you also stop comparing your healing to others. Some people look calm on the outside, but you do not know what they carry inside. Some people seem to move on quickly, but you do not know whether they truly healed or simply distracted themselves. Your path is your path. Your healing has its own timing. Your mind has its own layers. Your heart has its own history. Do not rush yourself because someone else looks ahead. Do not shame yourself because your peace is taking time. A flower does not bloom by comparing itself to another flower. It blooms when the conditions are right. In the same way, your peace will grow when patience, awareness, and acceptance become stronger inside you. You cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling it open. If you try, you destroy it. You must give it sunlight, water, soil, and time. Your soul is the same. You cannot force it open through pressure. You must give it silence, compassion, awareness, and time. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is stop rushing your own healing. Stop demanding instant peace. Stop trying to become a perfect version of yourself overnight. Stop turning every difficult emotion into proof that you are failing. You are not failing. You are learning how to live with more awareness. Peace comes naturally when you stop creating war inside yourself. It comes when you stop resisting every thought, every feeling, every memory, and every uncertainty. It comes when you allow yourself to be where you are without hating yourself for not being somewhere else. It comes when you stop saying, "I should be different right now," and begin saying, "This is where I am, and I can meet myself with patience." This is how life becomes lighter, not because all pain disappears, but because you stop adding pressure to pain. Not because every thought becomes silent, but because you stop fighting every thought. Not because every problem is solved, but because you stop making your peace depend on perfect conditions. Let peace come naturally. Let it come through one deep breath. Let it come through one moment of silence. Let it come through one act of self-kindness. Let it come through one decision not to react. Let it come through one moment where you stop chasing, stop forcing, and simply return to yourself. Do not worry if peace feels small at first. A small moment of peace is still peace. A small breath of calm is still healing. A small pause before reaction is still growth. A small release of control is still freedom. Over time, these small moments become stronger. They become your new way of living. One day, You will notice that the same things that used to destroy your peace no longer control you as much. You will still feel emotions, but you will not drown in them. You will still face problems, but you will not panic so quickly. You will still experience uncertainty, but you will not try to force everything immediately. You will still care, but you will not cling so tightly. That is peace growing naturally. So stop forcing yourself to be calm. Stop attacking your mind for thinking. Stop judging your heart for feeling. Stop rushing your healing because you think you should be stronger by now. You become stronger by becoming more aware, not by becoming less human. Breathe. Let this moment be what it is. Let your emotions move. Let your mind settle in its own time. Do your part gently and release the rest. Peace is not something you need to chase with fear. Peace is what remains when you stop fighting yourself. And sometimes the peace you were searching for finally arrives the moment you stop trying to force it and simply allow yourself to be here, fully present, fully human, and quietly open to life as it is. Life becomes lighter when you stop fighting everything that does not happen the way you expected. Most people are not suffering only because life is difficult. They are suffering because their mind keeps resisting life, controlling life, forcing life, and demanding that everything should be different before they allow themselves to feel peaceful. Buddhism teaches that peace begins when you stop clinging so tightly. You do your part, but you release what is not in your control. You take action where action is needed, but you stop destroying your mind over things that need time, patience, and acceptance. Not every problem needs panic. Not every situation needs force. Not every answer needs to arrive today. When you stop resisting life, you begin to see clearly. You realize that some delays are teaching patience. Some endings are creating space. Some pain is showing you where you are still attached. Some uncertainty is training you to trust yourself. And some problems become lighter the moment you stop carrying them every second in your mind. Letting go does not mean you are weak. It means you are wise enough to protect your peace. It means you understand that life will always change, people will change, plans will change, and emotions will change. But you do not have to lose yourself every time something changes outside of you. So breathe deeply. Stop forcing what is not ready. Stop chasing what is not meant to stay. Stop making every problem bigger than it is. Stop letting fear control your mind. Let time reveal what you cannot understand today. Let life move without your constant resistance. The happier life is not the life where everything is perfect. The happier life is the life where your mind is no longer at war with everything imperfect. Do your best. Stay present. Trust the process. Release what you cannot control. And remember, sometimes the peace you are searching for begins the moment you stop fighting life and finally allow yourself to flow with it.